Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Exeter Planning Board to order. We are starting at 6:30 this evening because of the agenda as it goes. I'm Langdon Plummer, I'm Chair of the Board, and with me are
Aaron Brown, Vice Chair.
Nancy Belanger, Select Board Representative.
John Gruder, Clerk.
and
Gwen English.
regular member.
Sorry.
That's called perfect.
So we have minutes to approve, 2 sets of minutes. I think probably can take care of those tonight with
Yeah.
5 of us here. So I'll open the first one is July 11th.
I did have some changes. Sounds like you might.
I did too, and I have to find them again because now I've lost them.
Anybody have comments for those or,
Yes.
okay? That was Gwen saying yes?
Me and
Or was it
We
yeah?
both had some.
Nancy's looking
I
for
can
hers.
start. I found my
Okay,
notes
go
from
ahead.
last time, so.
Go ahead.
So several lines, 312, 313, 318, and 321. It should be Bonnie, B-O-N-N-I-E Drive.
Which number are you on?
Oh, yeah, 312.
Yeah, I didn't write my page number, it's just the line number. So it's 312.
Page 8.
Thank you.
Yeah.
312,
There's a bunch of them.
right, that I listed all of it, I
Yeah.
guess, so.
Okay.
Any more? Yep.
Yeah, 312, and then 313, line 313, line 318, and line 321. All should say Bonnie Drive and spelled B-O-N-N-I-E.
Well, while we're right there on line 318, I don't have the last name of the woman who spoke, but it's Noel, N-O-E-L.
Could you speak a little louder,
It says
please?
it as unidentified. Her first name is Noel, but I didn't catch her last name.
That was it. I tried to get the other names too, and I either couldn't hear them or they didn't save them, so that's it.
On line 69, it starts out Miss English. I didn't make that comment. I think it might have been Jen, but they'd have to check that again, but I'm quite certain, I'm
Okay,
almost
check
positive
name.
I didn't make that comment.
All right.
On line 118, my comment was abbreviated, so it makes it a little confusing, but between the word recall and Ann, if it could just put in, I didn't recall any previous projects in town with impacts as great as this. And I didn't really understand line 133. I was a little confused.
133.
Did you understand that one?
I missed it, so I'm trying to get it into context.
Yeah.
Would it be assured instead of insured?
No,
So should be assured instead of hoping, like,
Oh, okay.
you should assure that.
No impact assured, not-
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just-
assure there's no impact, instead of hope there's no impact.
That works.
So it'd be instead of.
Okay, I think that was it, Mr. Chair, for me.
I'll make a motion then to approve the minutes from July 11th, 2024,
As amended?
as amended.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Voice vote. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to August 8th. This was all about the CIP.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of things. On line 35, Phillips, Exeter Academy, it should be Phillips, so just a typo.
Okay.
And on line 54, he's got the acronym SARS. I don't know what that is, but if it could be spelled out and then put SARS in parenthesis, or vice versa.
What line was that?
That's on line 54.
It's state revolving fund, it says it on 55, so,
So the acronym is,
I think. I don't know where the A comes from.
I don't either.
No, clean water.
No, the state revolving fund
Yeah.
is SRF.
Right. So I don't know what the other one is.
I don't know what that is either.
But you're right. The acronyms should definitely be spelled out.
Let's see.
And line 70, same thing, there's a CSO, if the full term could be put in parentheses, it's combined sewer overflow.
I'm going to.
I think that's all I had.
Okay. Do you have any of those, Nancy?
No, I'm good. I was
Okay.
just going to try to look at that acronym.
John?
No, I'm set. I'll make a motion, though, to approve the minutes of the August 8th, 2024 meeting as amended.
Second.
Second. Voice vote, please. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Abstention? None? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move now to the second public hearing on the 2025 Capital Improvement Program projects as presented by the town departments, which we heard at our last meeting. Copies of the proposed documents will be available at the planning department office prior to the meeting. And I suspect there was a rush to the office and everybody got a copy, did they? Dave?
Not yet.
Okay.
Once it's finalized, though, it will come. But yeah, thank you, the department heads.
Yes.
Presented all the projects last time. Sounded like, there was a few comments by the planning board, seemed all positive. This is an opportunity for the public to come in after watching the meeting last time and comment. I don't think there's anyone here, but open it up to the public, see if anyone has anything to say, and then we'll talk more about the letter, pending the letter.
Okay. Well, let me see it. I'll open this to the public if anybody would like to speak now or as we progress about the capital improvement plan. That is the initial start of the budget for all the capital expenditures that will be proposed that we vote on in March. So this is the beginning of that process. It's the heavy money part. Infrastructure and there's money out there to be bought. And many of the projects brought in were discussed by the various department heads, indicating various sources that they may be either have applied for or maybe apply for to help handle all of the expenses. So, not seeing anybody who wishes to speak, let's bring it back to the board. And are there any things in our mind that we would, sometimes we encourage or provide suggestion that, or encourage the select board, who this gets sent to, that they might pay particular attention to, such as last year, the new fire department or the substation, because we felt very strongly about that. So that's what I would start with, is if anybody so moved, or?
I think you've got the police station again as a recommendation to get it
Well,
done.
that's what it's
Get it
now
done.
talking about, yep.
And I don't,
What did you say we have the police station again, John? What did you-
Excuse me?
Oh, yeah, disregard that letter. The letter was incorrect.
Ah,
Okay.
That was left over from last year. I was out of the office.
Okay, someone just changed the dates, okay.
Someone just changed the dates but forgot to remove the last sentence. The last sentence will be removed, and you can replace it with anything you feel, if you
Yep.
feel strongly about any of the, projects or multiple projects.
well, what would come to my mind is the replacement of the fuel system up at the Public Works Department. That's come up several years, and apparently we need to get that done before we progress other, well, they're still doing planning on some of the other things, but I think that certainly is a serious consideration that they need to make. Anybody have anything
I
else?
mean, we leave the road and the sewer drainage problems and stuff, we leave that up to the people who know most about it, right? They're gonna prioritize if they only have so much money.
Yeah,
Fix these streets are worse than those streets. They
Ah.
both need to be done,
Yep.
but some need to be done quicker.
yeah.
So I think we leave that up to them.
Yeah. Anything to do with our water supply or sewage treatment. There were a few things in there relating to those, and I'm not qualified to put a stamp of approval, but it sounds like those are things that
Yeah,
need to be
yeah.
done, and I'm sure those will get looked at closely. I was very excited about the styrofoam recycling project, and I spoke briefly with Tim at RPC about that, and just seeing how we could involve other communities and get them to maybe contribute to the cost of it. And he was very excited about it and said he'd give it some thought, see where we can go with that. Again, if that passes through the budget committee, et cetera.
Okay,
May I also bring one that I think is important too? I mean, they're all important projects.
yes.
Groundwater source development in 2025 for $6.8 million. I think that's a very important one because it talks about our capacity, resiliency to provide potable water to our residents. I mean, we can do that now, but we want to continue to develop those. And this is particularly timely because we're doing the pump tests now, I believe. I think they may have started this week or whatever, like right around now, and to develop a well. We're partnering with PA, they own the property, and they're providing an easement. And
Yep.
so if that works, it's over, an aquifer. So I think that's a very important project for the
Yep.
town, like a timely project for 2025.
And that's been an ongoing one too, so that, yeah.
It has. They've been working on that for a while, and finally they're to the point where actually they're in the ground.
Well, can you describe those thoughts we have, and,
Yeah, list them again, the replacement of the fuel island, I got that.
yep,
So I kind of got I didn't quite
You didn't.
specifically get the rest of it.
What I was saying.
Yeah.
There was a project at the sewage treatment plant, that's the one with the barrels. It sounded like those had reached there, and I don't know what, I'm sorry, I didn't make a note of it beforehand.
The effluent flume?
It might have been that. Maybe we should wait until,
It's 2025.
let's see.
That's kind of falling apart. It's
Yes,
breaking away,
yeah, right.
and they need to, yeah.
I don't know, it just seems like that's something that needs attention. And then there was something with the
Flume.
surface water treatment plant? Or was that for next year? Was that for,
Well, yes, that
that's
is,
not immediate, is it?
well, that's, I think they're proposing, aren't they asking for planning? money
I think so.
on that.
I gotta find an
Let me look
appropriate
real
site,
quick.
apparently.
It's under the general fund, right?
Surface water treatment. Might have been the surface water treatment plant?
Yeah, it's right in the
Is that
front.
page 3?
Great.
I can't see this.
Okay, yeah, no, they're asking 26. I think
Yeah,
they
okay.
prioritize that. Well, this is important, and our surface water treatment plant is definitely,
Yep,
older.
yep,
And, but they prioritize groundwater source development. Oh, because
Okay.
that's the one that's gonna, secure the water sources in the near future.
okay,
Much quicker than, planning, designing, going to the voters for funding to put a surface water treatment plant. That's years away.
okay, okay.
Right.
Fair enough, all right.
So groundwater development, effluent plume, and fuel island?
And the one you mentioned,
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
groundwater development. Those three, I can
That
put
sound all
those,
right?
That sounds fine.
planning
Okay.
board supports, just highlights those three,
yes,
fully supports those, for funding
all right,
in 2025.
sounds good.
Perfect.
Plus our appreciation to all the department heads and all the heavy work that went into getting it ready for us to hear and somebody run the numbers and all that stuff.
Perfect. I will add that too.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead now. Next item on the agenda then is to continue public hearing for the application of Mensis Financial Holdings LLC for a site plan review with wetlands and shoreland conditions use permit for the proposed construction of a commercial vehicle area and a 22,500 square foot accessory storage building with associated site improvements in the property located at 127 Portsmouth Avenue. Property is located in the C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District and is identified as tax map parcel number 52-112-2, Planning Board case number 24-4. And so just wait for a second, see what.
We have a waiting room tonight.
So Dave, did you want to start this off then?
Yeah, I just went out, there's several people out there. I just
Yes,
wanted to tell them 50 Linden if they were here for that.
Right.
It's been asked to be continued.
Oh,
But, I don't know what was said, but I'll just recap my memo. Are we at that point?
yes.
Yeah.
Recap my, okay.
I thought you-
The applicant appeared before site plan review, wetlands, shoreline permits for a commercial vehicle storage area, accessory storage building, and associated site improvements. And the applicant appeared before the planning board at the July 11th, 2024 meeting, and after considerable discussion, the board noted their concerns relative to the scope of the project, stormwater, the impacts the proposed project will have on the shoreline buffers, and the potential impact to water quality. Subsequently, the applicant requested continuance to give the opportunity to go back and reconsider the plan and respond to the UEI comments. The applicant met again with the Conservation Commission at their August 13th meeting, and the commission voted to not recommend approval of the wetland and shoreline conditional use permit applications. I did enclose a memo from the Conservation and Sustainability Planner, Kristen Murphy, dated August 14th, enclosed in your packet. Revised plans and supporting documents were submitted for August 7th. I did receive confirmation from Underwood that they had a meeting with the applicant and the engineer to go over the latest submittal, and the actual submittal appears to reflect everything that was discussed, so they have no more further comments. I believe there's a representative from the Conservation Commission here to speak, and happy to answer any questions.
Before we begin, continue, Jen Martel just arrived. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we're just starting on, I think you know what case we're talking about.
Yes.
So, Christian, the floor is yours. We're
Thank you,
excited
Mr.
to hear
Chairman.
what your ideas are.
Yes. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Christian Smith, engineer with Beals Associates, here representing the applicant on the project. Along with me are representatives from Meniscus Financial Holdings as well as Jewett Construction. They are the architect on the project, as you are aware. And Dave hit on a lot of the poignant points. We did go back and did what we thought was going to be, enough to get the conservation on board with us. We've pulled all of the pervious pavement as well as the building completely out of the 150-foot shoreline setback. The area of concern that was cited to us by the Conservation Commission at the meeting in July in particular was this wetland pocket and its buffer, which was at that time, excuse me, proposed grading basically went all the way down to just above where the edge of wetland is. We were able to preserve basically half of that distance, provided a retaining wall in that location to take care of that. Other changes that took place were that we pulled away a bit from Route 33/108. And again, as I mentioned, along the southerly edge here of this property, of the parking area, we've pulled that completely out of the 150-foot shoreline setback. Obviously, there is some grading that would still need to take place within that, just to catch up to daylight, with grading the parking lot. One thing I do want to point out is that at the July hearing, the big issue we were hearing from the Conservation Commission was the water quality question and Underwood's review of our treatment system. And, at this point, none of the pervious pavement or the building roof that we are proposing actually flows in the direction of either the Waterworks Pond or the Wheelwright Brook. All the roof area is collected within this stone trench. Water is infiltrated in heavier storms, up in the 50-year storm, which is about an 8.5-inch rain event in 24 hours. There are 2 overflow pipes connected, which bring it into the same system that the pervious pavement runs through. Ultimately, that portion of the drainage hasn't changed. Another poignant point I think I should point out to the board that, essentially the only area from this building which actually has the propensity to drain in the direction of that wetland or the Waterworks Road would be just this area here behind the now proposed retaining wall. These are both in cut areas, so these are high points that drain back toward the building on both sides, and then you do have the little trough, I guess you could call it, the depression in between the 2 peaks that has the potential for that. But we're collecting absolutely all of that. All of the runoff from the pavement obviously infiltrates and then gets conveyed through the piping system and the underdrain system. We have reduced, both temporary and permanent impacts in both the wetland areas, the wetland buffers, as well as the shoreline buffers as well. But with that, the commission essentially came up with a comment from one of the commission members, and I think everybody else was pretty much on board with it, that this would probably be, or they could probably recommend this if the entire building were removed. Well, that kind of blindsided us a little bit because we've been going through working with them at different meetings, and that is certainly the first we had heard that commentary, particularly where we're collecting the entire area and keeping it absolutely away from the reservoir and even away from the Waterworks Road. it just kind of took us by surprise. One thing I will mention on the shoreland impact areas, again, they have been reduced. Again, we are pulled completely out of the 150-foot.
Hey, Christian?
Yes, sir.
Would you mind moving to the other side? So
I would not.
You're trying to convince us, I think.
You're larger than our, no, kidding.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
Sorry, didn't I?
That's unquestionable.
It's a buffer zone.
That's exactly right. And in addition to that, we pointed out that, yes, the proposal is for slightly over 23% of the total area within the shoreline, the 300-foot setback, would become, disturbed and impervious. The only impervious we're adding is about 23,000 square feet. That would be the building, which is consists of 20,000, and then the small entrance roads into the project, which are not proposed to be porous pavement, because vehicle turning, into drive aisles, just not a good fit for porous pavement. But there is also an existing almost 19,000 square feet on the project, on the property right now, that's within that 300-foot setback by virtue of the existing GTE road, which rainwater flows off completely untreated. So while I understand, what the commission's position is and what their recommendation is, we still feel that this is approvable. And with that, I did mention that we got, and Dave did as well, we got the sign off from Underwood that they agree with our stormwater calculations, and that all of the water quality criteria, in other words, the removal of total suspended solids, nitrogen, and phosphorus, all exceed the town requirements in Section 9 as well. And I guess with that, we'll take any questions that the board may have.
Is that building smaller, is that what you said?
It is. It is.
How much? It's 20,000 square feet now?
20,000, it was 22,500 before.
Yeah, so it's 2,500 smaller, yeah.
Yeah.
12%.
Quite a lot narrow.
That's what it was, yeah. We skinnied it up to try and pull that back end, if you will, away from the waterworks road and pond.
So there's no surface water you're worried about from the existing roadway?
Well, I mean,
That's already doing its thing, I guess.
Because a portion of it flows into our pervious pavement, we have accommodated that.
Oh, okay.
The road's crowned, Mr. Chairman, so obviously half of it runs the other direction, but,
Yeah.
What does run toward our site gets taken in through the porous pavement, and that's reflected in our drainage evaluation.
Can you run again where the existing drains are?
The existing pipes?
Yes, I mean, that are currently functioning.
Correct. Yep, there is better take that down.
Yeah.
There is a large existing culvert that connects this, which has turned into a wetland. That was essentially a detention pond, I
Okay.
think for the original Sylvania development, but, left, they start growing wetland vegetation and they become jurisdictional.
Yes.
So that existing pipe does outlet at this location right here, runs through a swale beside the waterworks pond. You can see this is the intake and the dam for the reservoir, and it runs down and ultimately, eventually into Wheelwright Creek.
So that's lower than the,
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Beyond
below
beyond
the
waterwork,
support
yeah,
gravels
okay.
of the proposed pavement.
So, I have a question.
go ahead, yes. Excuse me.
Christian, you mentioned just now that you think that your treatment, new updated, if this went through system, might eliminate some runoff going towards the water reservoir now?
From the existing
Because of your
roadway,
pavement,
yes.
the type of
That's
pavement you're
correct.
using, the system you're updating?
Yep.
What do you think, what are your calculations on that?
Well,
How much improvement do you think is there, really?
Well, so we would basically, you can see how the the contours run. So the crown is about in the center.
Yeah.
And similarly coming down here. So essentially, we're going to be able to capture everything from probably a quarter to a third down the building, runs into it. And again, from here, because this tapers off from the elevation of Portsmouth Ave slightly. So half of that area coming in here, if we've got 18,000 square feet in that 300-foot shoreline right now with that road,
Yeah.
we're probably taking roughly half of that,
Yeah.
or close to.
So I think the Conservation Commission has representation here, but from your perspective, what did you think would have been approved by them? Nothing? No structure? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, that was the indication we got. There was a memo by one of the members that was handed out that evening, which essentially said that yes, they reduced things, but it was, I think, pinned in the memo, cited as minimal, and still not comfortable with the overall layout. And there was a final paragraph that essentially said, what do I think could be approved here? I think I could get behind approval of the pervious parking area without the building at all.
And the impervious parking, what you're stating is that it actually creates an improvement, actually, in the drainage condition versus what's there now.
From the existing conditions,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So essentially calling the lot unbuildable. If you're improving the drainage with a parking lot, then what's there now, you're treating the water better than it's being treated now, and you're getting feedback that no structure would be approved. That makes it virtually unbuildable lot.
I mean, essentially, we can let the gentleman from the
Yeah,
conservation.
I'm just trying to get your feedback.
But yeah, that was our takeaway.
And you hadn't had that before?
Had not heard those,
Okay.
nothing that severe in the past, that's correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
Because we had a full discussion at this board, most, if not all of you, when that was subdivided off. And when it was subdivided off, it was like, you can't create an unbuildable lot.
Right.
So you need to be able to prove that you can build on it without a conditional use permit. If you need a conditional use permit, then you got to get one. And they came in and they showed a subdivision, they showed the subdivision and they colored it and showed the buildable area and said they could build on this lot without a CUP.
Yeah.
So I would be careful to say it's unbuildable because the planning board determined it was buildable outside. That's why they allowed it to be created.
Yeah, and can I just add, that's not part of the Conservation Commission's memo. They didn't.
I'm not asking about the memo, I'm asking about his opinion. I'm getting testimony from the applicant, but thank you. I see the memo. And the
Okay.
Conservation Commission's here, so I'm just
Yes.
trying to get Christian's feedback because we've tried to work with our board. I don't think I've ever seen the Conservation Commission come down this hard. Have you?
I don't think so, but it's partly the waterworks.
Of course.
Our water source.
Location.
Of course it is.
I also think it's more than the impervious surface. I think it's the removal of a lot of the vegetation that is in that area that is part of the whole system of having that pond work the way it does. If we went and cleared every lot that is along Waterworks Pond, it would dramatically, I mean, I'm not an expert, but my opinion is it would dramatically affect
Sure.
the mechanics of the pond, and I think that's a large part of what the conservation is concerned about. I think Don Clement at a maybe it was at the Conservation Commission meeting, made a comment about the system at large and how important the trees are and the vegetation, et cetera. And I think there was, with all due respect, I think there were comments made at the previous meeting about the building, and I got the impression that they weren't fully aware that there was going to be a building in there, and were concerned about that. I can't quote it because I don't have anything in front of me stating that, but, so it wasn't, I don't think it was a huge surprise that they were opposed to this.
Well, we heard that the building was too large, so we reduced
Right.
that, pulled it away from the pond, and the commentary that it would likely be supportable without a building whatsoever was absolutely a surprise.
Well, I would think maybe we should hear from the Conservation Commission.
I agree.
Please.
Coming this evening, and
Yeah.
so, Vice Chair Connor?
Yeah. I can come up and introduce myself. God, I enjoyed sitting in the back. I know, I got the far corner over there, it was nice.
Thank you very much for giving your time more.
Yeah, not an issue at all. Whew. I don't know if you're taller than me, Christian, but there we go.
As long as they can hear you.
I'll just yell. So I am Connor Madison. I'm here on behalf of the Conservation Commission. I'm the vice chair. And we have seen this project the last few months. I forget when you guys first came. June. Whew. So we've seen them the last few months. And during these meetings, ultimately, we're asking for an alternative design for this site. The revised design, which you see tonight, does slightly reduce impact to the shoreline protection buffer. However, we do believe this is minimal and there's still a significant impact to one of Exeter's most important water resources. Specifically, as we called out, the building footprint, I believe it was reduced by approximately 10%. I forget the numbers off the top of my head, but I believe it was about 10% during the course of these revisions. However, due to that building's proximity, the Conservation Commission still has warranted concerns about the impact to those water resources down below. Currently, right now, that building is on all forested land, so it would be clearing the trees and getting it down to grade, which I believe we would be cutting over a knoll back down to grade. The Conservation Commission does suggest removing the building either entirely out of the shoreline protection district or significantly reducing the size. This was also brought up when you came to us during the conceptual visit. We did immediately have concerns about that. And basically, not that it's an unbuildable lot. I'm not going to get into that because that's out of our purview. But ultimately, that we do have concerns with the building. I appreciate and respect all of the revisions made during this course. The parking lot, I believe it was said at the last meeting that the building's the main concern. The parking lot is less of a concern after it was removed out of that 150 zone. It was said that the Shoreline Protection District was established to protect these exact specific resources. Once again, we appreciate all of the revisions that we've made, but ultimately, the building footprint gives the Conservation Commission concern, and ultimately that is why we do not recommend approval for the Shoreline Protection District CUP or the Wetland District CUP. I can answer any questions, but this is my first planning board for Concom, so.
We're glad you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're a friendly crowd, so.
In lieu of the building, would more parking be doable?
It's hard for him to answer that,
I was gonna say, I can pretend to be an engineer if you want me to be.
I know you can draw it, but would that be something you'd consider?
I would assume not, judging that the parking lot now is primarily on the grass kind of lawn. I don't believe that we're clearing trees for the parking lot at this moment.
One or
But
two, yeah.
minimal.
A few, yeah.
And then we did discuss as a Conservation Commission, there is wetland impact to this. We weren't as concerned with the wetland impacts due to just their low function. Mainly concerned about that impact to the Shoreline Protection District. However, it gets complicated approving one CUP and not approving the other.
He's trying to
I
hide.
know, I'm trying to walk away. I don't know
You
if I
can
was
run,
done.
but you can't
You can all sit
hide.
down if you want. That's why we have the other mics there.
Oh, those are mics are hot?
Yeah.
I kind of like standing now.
A running start?
Spreading his wings now. I mean, a challenge for us is that as a board, we are generally kind of lockstep with the Conservation Commission. I think it's
Yes, we are.
very rare that we
Override.
don't work together. Right. Yeah, I think it's, I'm trying to remember doing it. I think maybe we've changed conditions slightly that they've recommended, but I truly don't think I've ever seen them say,
I don't remember that.
don't support, period, you know?
It's been a while.
Do you? And that's, I mean, this is our place, but at the same time, that's kind of their focus and expertise, right, that they bring to us.
Yep, I agree. Unfortunately. It's a tough one, but.
So if that building became a small addition onto the larger building up at the top of the plateau there, and that became just a little more parking, does that work for anyone?
Well, I'd have to defer to Mr. Foss on that.
Possible, we need, the parking's a big thing for us.
Both are big for us. I mean,
Yeah.
we're in growth mode. Some of you guys did the site walk when we went there.
Yep.
We have our employees parking on the street right now. I mean, we're jammed. We're out to the edges. Both are big for us because having that storage allows us to store stuff in other places, but adding onto the building would accomplish the same thing, what you're saying. Would it be easier to get that one approved if?
Well, you're out of the zone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hopefully. It's doable. It would, I mean, this would be cleaner for us, and business-wise would be cleaner for us. But I mean, the main thing we need is parking. That is cut and dry. We need parking. We're outgrowing. We've outgrown it.
You're using it.
Yeah, we've been
most
there.
of it
We've
for
been there
parking
since
now.
1963, and we've grown. Cars have gotten bigger. We've grown, and it's progress. And hopefully, everyone likes that. Could it be done? Possibly. Is there any way to get an approval on the parking lot and then move forward with that, and then later on the road,
I mean, you have to get
come up with a
through-
better idea, I guess. What are your? And the answer to that is, yeah, you can come in with a different design, just showing what you want, what you find acceptable for parking to move forward, at least, and you almost potentially phase in the work on the project, and maybe the building never happens, maybe it does, but at this point, I don't think it's looking very promising. Right.
Yeah.
So Is it there- might be a good tact to get, if you really need parking, at least. Which we do. To kind of shift gears and work towards getting something like that in front of us as quick as you can. I know it's not much fun to have to keep coming back. Can we take a
empathize
marker
with
and cross it out? I'm nervous about snow already, so.
Yeah,
No, I hear you.
Exactly. And then you'll need more area to push your snow, too.
And that's something you think your committee could get behind?
Yeah, I believe it was stated as well. For
What's
what
that?
I believe it was stated.
It
as
refers to
well.
that memo,
So,
right?
Yeah, I think it was in the.
It was in the memo as well.
In the motion.
In the
And we
motion,
have done changes at a meeting, so that this is doable tonight, potentially. That's a
So-
pretty substantial change to the project, but
Get you,
probably eliminates all of my concerns.
yeah, mine
I think
too.
you're right.
And it's
So-
unfortunate. I mean, we all realize that you're growing and
I'm happy for you.
the
Thank you.
building
Yeah.
is kind of a new part of the business from the sounds of it, and it's expanding in leaps and bounds. So we understand. It's just, it's now we're looking out for the whole community with a water supply, and
That's
for
really-
me, I just, it's hard to say, yeah, let's go forward with this when
I mean, you
I'm
could-
really concerned about the impacts that building could have. But I'd be supportive of the parking lot alone.
Which is still a fairly substantial development of
It
the
is.
site, I mean, to be frank with you.
It
It's
is.
not one that you just rubber stamp.
You could do that.
No,
You
yeah,
know,
not
Maybe
at
you
all.
can get it surfaced this year, maybe not, but, and then decide what you want to do with the building, figure out, make it
So split it into like a phase.
2 phases.
Is that something? Is that something, could we make a switch on the fly right now and try that, or?
Well, I mean, we can only approve what's in front of us, so you'd have to change what you have in front of us, or we can make conditions to change
Can,
it.
yeah.
But it's usually a give and take. Christian would be pretty vital to that, I would think.
Would a condition to do that, all right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm trying to craft it, but I think so.
I mean, he could change the
I mean,
plan.
it's pretty clean, it's not like,
Right.
you're just, you're
Right.
moving the building, you know, I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it's pretty clean, I mean, is there parking right in front? Would that stay, the parking up against the building?
I presume it would, Dave, because the anticipation would be there would be a phase 2 at some point down the road. But
For the parking
again,
that faces the building, so basically the, what is that, the west
That's your
elevation of the building would be the project limits. I mean, I know you'd probably have to clear a little bit beyond that to make it work, but that
well,
would,
to get the grading to work, yes.
Correct.
But it would not be it would not be near, obviously, the tree clearing that we're proposing now. I mean,
how far do you think you need?
well, 3 to 1, 15 feet.
Because it goes down and it goes up, though. Where are you?
Well, right, it goes up before it goes down. The hill. Yeah.
Show us.
That is a good song title. So the project here, you're starting into the slope up.
Oh, so
So-
you're not gonna put a, yeah.
So it would have to cut the trees back a little further than the edge of this
Yeah.
to be able to grade it up
That's
to
what-
meet daylight.
That's what I mean.
Absolutely. But, I mean, you know, then obviously if the building was not constructed, there would be a tremendous amount of vegetation left. You know, and Tim had a good idea. If you are of mind to look at that as a potential approval for tonight, we could basically call the building a Phase 2, during which, when that was proposed, we'd have to come back before both the Conservation Commission and this board for approvals.
I would stay away from phase 2. I would just
Not
come
part of
in.
it.
You can always submit another site.
I'm saying just because the building's on the plan.
No, I'm saying the condition would be removed
Okay.
for the final plan.
Okay.
I just-
There would be.
We don't
it
want
would
to
be removed.
potentially
Yeah.
lead anybody on.
Right.
That
Yeah,
could be
absolutely.
approved in the
Now,
future.
do you see any, what else do you see for impacts on removing that building? Because you know the grades.
That's it, Dave. I mean, you're looking at the grading of the parking lot as it sits.
Yeah.
That's the limit of the grading for the parking lot, as we just discussed.
But you didn't build up the end of the parking lot for the, well, you'd keep it the same anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's, those elevations, Dave, are based on having enough room to put these support gravels and the filter media below the porous pavement, provide the under drains, get the drainage to all flow downhill. Those grades aren't changing. It would just be that little bit of upslope grading that would have to take place to meet daylight from where the edge of that parking is that is currently the edge of the building.
Right. I don't know if you'd have to come in front of us, if you think you would, if you did an addition on the other property, but I would expect that we'd be pretty open to that, if that made sense. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we do try to work with people.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a very
And-
sensitive location that we're
Yeah,
talking
just
about.
because I was surprised by the Conservation Commission's contention at the last hearing, don't get me wrong, I
Right.
have a tremendous amount of respect for everybody on that board, they're all
Sure.
good people. Yeah, I just happen to
I'm
be
sure that's
surprised.
unusual too, right? To have that happen.
And I think, quite honestly, we have been working right along, you know, cooperatively with the Conservation Commission. Our thoughts were just a little less than their thoughts.
All right.
You want to hear from the public?
Is there anything else we need
Sure.
to discuss?
That's right, this is new here, isn't it?
It is.
But anybody that'd like to make a comment from the public, please feel free to step to the microphone. We got a choice of 4 microphones to let us know what your thoughts are or your concerns. And if you'd like to do that, we'd like to have you step up and introduce yourself, so our viewers at home will know who's speaking along with the board. So this time, if you'd like to comment on it, please do so. Now, seeing none, let me close the public portion of the session and bring it back to the board. What, do we do anything else with the conditional use permits or anything, Dave? What else do we have to deal with?
2 conditional uses in the site plan.
Okay?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask?
Yes.
Christian, were there any other changes that were noteworthy on, we're focusing so much on the building that I don't want to overlook anything else?
I think I covered them all, Gwen. You know, as I mentioned, the pavement was pulled back slightly.
Yep.
Pulled back here to make sure that we are outside of that 150-foot shoreline setback. You can see the edge of the tree line. That's going to be the limit of grading just to catch up with daylight on the downslope. You know, we had worked with Gove Environmental, Brendan Quigley, and these slopes would be intended to be where you see the orange.
Yep.
That's the temporary impacts. So those would not be intended to be mowed. So they're not going to be grassed. It would likely be one of the wetland buffer mixes, like the northeast grass and forb mix.
Yep.
So those would be left to grow naturally. I mean, they may have to weed whack them every now and again so that they're not trying to seed our porous pavement, but
Right.
those would be left essentially to grow back to a natural state.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, those were the major changes. You know, and in the position that you're talking about, or the design that you're talking about, this porous pavement is still going to take roughly the same square footage of that GTE road, which currently, you know, flows untreated across that lawn.
Okay. Nothing's changed with the access between the existing buildings and the new parking area?
That's correct. Those all
the same.
remain the same, and those will be conventional pavement.
Okay.
Yeah, just those little drive access ways.
How about landscaping? On the previous plan, we had some plantings. And I don't see any, okay.
Yep.
Basically what was there before.
Yep, and we went through and embellished on those based on input from this board, as well as some comments from the planner. I think we've got a fairly robust planting plan at this point. But yeah, that's essentially, you know, those islands were not intended to be planted, but we have proposed now some bush plantings within those as well, the internal islands to the parking area itself. Yep.
They didn't want it because people going to that.
Correct, yeah. Tim's just pointing out that the mulch beds were not intended to be, or was concern of underwood. So that will not be mulched, it's going to be grassed. Because the mulch obviously, you know, it's organic, it's going to wear down, and it could break down into fines that could potentially clog some of the pores in the porous pavement.
Okay.
Yep.
So where is going to be grass? Can you clarify that?
Those internal islands,
Okay, so they won't have the U's in it that you're showing?
correct.
Okay.
Without the building, does anything change with the lighting? I know you do have some,
Just the building mounted lighting, all the other
And that-
lighting would be there. Is that motion censored, Tim?
The dimmable ones at night.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The ones that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the ones within the parking lot, Gwen, really have to stay for safety.
No, I
sake.
realize, I just didn't know if there were, I couldn't remember if there were any on the building that were shining onto the parking area that would have to be somehow reconfigured so that.
Yeah, I think we've got pretty good coverage.
You're pretty good with it.
You can see the luminaires
Yeah.
out to, I think, the half-foot candle is
Yeah.
where we extend them.
Oh, they're not on this plan. Okay.
During construction, silt fences go up, do they?
In this case, it would probably be mulch berms or an erosion control mix berm. Those function a lot better, Mr. Chairman, and the reason why is silt fence. If you have a gully washer and this whole thing is dirt, that tends to fill up behind the silt fence. Between the posts, they fold open like a milk carton, and all of that sediment-laden water flows over them. Both the mulch berm and or the compost berm, they actually allow water to infiltrate through it while taking those fines and the sediment out of the water as it goes through.
Yep.
And in fact, when we did the we didn't do the construction. When we did the construction inspections over at Palmer and Sicard off Holland Way,
Yep.
they used exactly that technology, and it was absolutely amazing. You would have mud on the inflow side and basically clear water coming out the back end of it. And it doesn't come out quickly either. It kind of bleeds through, so it reduces any potential for erosive velocities in that as well.
Well, again, that's important because of the site and,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's not,
But that's just, that's just there when you're building a parking lot.
Correct.
That gets removed.
Yeah, once the grass is growing or the vegetation's growing on the slopes, the parking lot's paved.
If it works that well, would you ever leave one there?
I don't, I mean, once you've got 75% of vegetation coverage, that really doesn't do anything because it's the roots of the plants that are holding the soil in place. I mean, you can leave it, if that's what they choose to do. And quite honestly, typically when you get to the point where those are no longer needed, even when you're using a silt sock, which is basically blown full of wood chips, they just cut the sock and spread the chips, and that's likely what would happen here if they were to remove those. You just kind of rake them to a
just serve the
manageable
soil
level.
if you tear them out, yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I have a suggestion on the planting plan, since that's what we're looking at. I would suggest that the 3 trees that are proposed on the north side of the woodland be relocated to along GTE Road instead. And the reason for
These?
that, yes. And the
Okay.
reason for that is, I've just found that planting trees on the north side of an existing woodland, they don't survive. And it's just, we're putting them there because they look good on the plan, but.
Which 3?
These 3 down
Thank
at
you,
the
yeah.
That's the side.
Yeah.
edge of the woodcut.
I think they'll have a lot more benefit to the site if they're moved along GTE Road.
But what did you say? They do better on the north side? Because you're moving more to the north
They're
side.
currently just north of the woodland, so basically you've got, tall trees,
Yeah.
and you're planting them
Yeah.
where the tall trees will shade them out. If you move them north, now they've got they'll get full sun,
Yeah.
because there won't be anything blocking them.
Yeah, and since there's nothing else around there, they'll get full sun pretty much all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
That is not a problem.
And they'll just be more beneficial, I think, because now you're putting them where and instead of putting them right next to where there's already woodland, you're putting them in a place where we need them, which is right between pavement and pavement, so.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay,
Do you want to hear if Dave has a condition?
yeah.
He does. I bet.
For what? Which one? See, which one are you doing first? CPs or? Usually do the CPs
We usually do
first.
the
Yeah,
CIP
I
first.
just don't know, meaning with the, it's a pretty major change to the application, so is it,
Yeah, well, it is, but the more I wrote it.
pretty
I wrote,
simple,
This is
too.
what I wrote.
Pretty
yeah.
simple.
Because it is something that probably, if you approved it as is, no, I'm not saying, you're gonna
Yeah.
do that. If you approve that is, and then they came in, they decided not to build the building.
Right.
That would and they cut off the building like they're planning on doing, the town engineer and I could approve that under a minor field modification.
Right.
Because it's just reducing all the impact.
Right.
We just did it at 19 Continental. They went from a 105,000 square foot building to 65,000. Everything was this, they just reduced it. So we
Right.
have the authority to
Yeah.
approve that administratively.
Right.
So we'd have the authority to approve that administratively. So it's kind of a big change, but it isn't.
Right.
It's like,
I know
it's
what
just
you mean.
removing, it's just.
Yeah.
So the one I came up with, the condition for the CUPs, both CUPs would be, the proposed building shall be completely removed from the plans, and tree removal shall be limited to only what is necessary to grade the easterly side of the parking area to the existing grade. The town engineer and town planner shall review the final plans, and they can either approve the final plans or require the applicant to return to the planning board for approval. That's just like
Yeah. Yep.
a plan amendment.
Sure.
That's good.
That's
It's the
good.
exact same thing as a plan amendment. I don't see it making them return.
Right.
If it's just with the grading, I don't know what's gonna happen, I gotta
Yeah.
see the plan first.
Right.
Before we make that call, because if we can approve it administratively, which I believe we can, we'll just go ahead and do that. If not, then they would have to come back.
Okay. I'm comfortable making a motion if you're
Okay.
looking for one.
Can I make another just suggestion
ahead.
for conversation?
Yeah.
The grading back of the knoll, or to meet the knoll, is gonna, Christian said maybe 15 feet or so, times the whole length of that. I mean, that's still a considerable amount of woodland removal, and there's some pretty big trees in there. It doesn't need to be a 3-to-1 slope. It could be a 2-to-1 slope. It could be a retaining wall. We could reduce the amount of woodland that's being captured or being removed by asking for that. So I'm just wondering if that's maybe something we want to add.
Well, that end of the parking lot would be odd if it was just chopped off. I mean, I'm not sure, somehow you need to have it come to an end, is what I'm saying. And I'm sure you probably have to have access to get in and out of the lot on that end, so that makes sense.
No, I'm not proposing changing the parking lot at all.
Okay, no,
I'm
no.
proposing
You're
that
saying right here.
15-foot grading buffer, maybe we ask them to tighten it up. There's really no reason it needs to be a 3-to-1 slope. I mean, that's like, if you're going to be
Nope,
mowing.
that's
it.
just standard.
Yeah, so
Yep.
like, maybe it could be a 2-to-1 slope with a little erosion control. It could be like a
Absolutely.
1-to-1. It could just, I mean, I think if we could ask them in the conditions to tighten that up as much as possible, because there are some significant trees in there, and if that's the difference between keeping a tree and not, I think that would be huge.
Yeah, and I will say, Jen, the only thing we're going to have to confirm to do that is that AOT is comfortable with it. And I'm quite sure there are erosion protections that you can put
Yeah.
on freshly graded to probably get us down to somewhere between 1.5 to 1 to 2 to 1.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden we go from needing 15 linear feet to needing 10 or 7.5. So you're effectively basically cutting that
Yeah.
distance in
Yeah.
half.
And then just to clarify, you're not, with the removal of the building, that also includes that 6-foot or whatever concrete sidewalk, right? Or would that still be constructed?
No,
I don't think we would, no, there would be no need. You mean the sidewalk in front of the building?
Correct.
Yeah, there would be no need for it.
Basically, Jen, what I believe Dave's condition says is once you hit the building on that plan,
Everything goes.
construction stops.
Right.
Yeah, but what Jen's talking about, Mr. Vice Chair, is there is a 5-foot sidewalk right there in front of the building along.
Gotcha, in front of the building?
Yeah, which there would be no point in having.
Right.
I thought that was going.
Yeah.
It is, that's what Jen was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Just
our
wanna clarify
proposal.
that.
I thought you were talking about the one in
Confirm.
front of the building.
Yeah.
Isn't that one along?
I don't think there is a sidewalk there.
No, there is not a sidewalk proposed along the building.
Okay, I
just
thought there was in the
grass.
front of it, that side.
The side.
No, just the side facing the parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that'd be structurally sound.
I'm all for that's a great idea.
Yeah, it is.
Just take every
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
square inch
Yeah.
back that we can.
Right.
Good thinking.
That's why I put only what is necessary to grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to put like a,
Just say minimal,
11 feet.
minimal
Yeah.
slope necessary.
well, I mean, I said only what is necessary to grade the
Yeah.
easterly side. So I hear you, they heard you.
Right.
If we have an issue with it, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate with that.
And we will take it as steep
Yeah.
as alteration of terrain will allow us to.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we got it covered with, between what I just heard and where I wrote it.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
But then I do, one thing I would add, the extent of the tree removal shall be shown on the final plan. Just show
Yeah,
what's gonna be removed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
sounds good.
Do you have something? You sure? Are you looking for a motion?
Yes, I'm ready for motion.
Are we good? All right. I can read it. I move that the request of Meniscus Financial Holdings LLC Planning Board Case Number 24-4 for site plan approval be approved with the conditions as read by Town Planner Dave Sharples.
Second.
Oh, wait, I just did the wrong one.
That's the,
I did the site plan.
We don't
Yep.
need
I had to
any-
remove that motion, I'm sorry.
We don't need any,
We can't go out of order. My bad. Strike that. Try again. Conditional use permit for a wetlands motion. After reviewing the criteria for a wetlands conditional use permit, I move that the request of Meniscus Financial Holdings LLC, Planning Board Case Number 24-4 for a conditional use permit be approved with a condition as read by Town Planner Dave Sharples.
Second.
okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion itself?
I guess I just had one thing I know.
Yes?
I'm not sure if I can do this or not. I just wanted to make sure Connor was okay with that.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, hand vote. Those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it.
All right.
Now we have
You want to go?
additional shoreland motion.
Want to go?
Pardon?
I would
No,
suggest
I
this.
don't want to go.
I would suggest the same two conditions for that.
Okay. Want me to go again?
Sure.
We've got it.
All right. Conditional use permit for a shorelands motion. After reviewing the criteria for shoreland conditional use permit, I move that the request of Meniscus Financial Holdings LLC Planning Board Case Number 24-4 for a conditional use permit be approved with the two conditions as read by Town Planner Dave Sharples.
second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll hand vote again. Those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Can we keep going? Keep going?
Yeah, sure, you're doing a good job.
Same two?
No,
Oh. Anything else?
Oh, you
Yeah.
must have,
You go, you get your whole list.
the standard
Yes.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, your standard.
And Jen's deciduous tree relocation. One, an electronic as-built with the details acceptable to the town shall be provided prior to the use of the parking lot. This plan must be in the DWG or DFX file format and in NAD 1983 State Plan, New Hampshire, FIPS 2,800 feet coordinates. Two, a pre-construction meeting shall be arranged by the applicant and his contractor with the town engineer prior to any site work commencing. Following must be submitted for review and approval prior to the pre-construction meeting. One, the SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, if applicable, and a project schedule and construction cost estimate. Three, third-party construction inspection fees shall be paid prior to scheduling the pre-construction meeting. Four, stormwater system operation and maintenance report shall be provided as part of the stormwater management inspection and maintenance manual. This report shall be completed and submitted to the town engineer annually on or before January 31st. This requirement shall be an ongoing condition of approval. Five, all applicable state permit approval numbers shall be noted on the final plans. All appropriate fees to be paid, including but not limited to sewer water condition, impact fees, inspection fees, third-party inspections prior to the issuance of a building permit or use of the parking lot, whichever is applicable as determined by the town. 6, all landscaping on the plan shall be maintained, and any dead or dying vegetation shall be replaced no later than the following growing season, as long as the site plan remains valid. 7, the 3 deciduous trees along the southern edge of the parking area shall be relocated to the north side of the parking area along GTE Road, so-called. 8, the applicant shall submit the land use and stormwater management information about the project using the PTAP online municipal tracking tool. The PTAP submittal must be accepted by DPW prior to the pre-construction meeting.
Okay. Site plan motion. I move that the request of Meniscus Financial Holdings LLC, Planning Board Case Number 24-4 for site plan approval be approved with a condition as read by Town Planner Dave Sharples.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Then we do a hand vote again. Those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Opposed? Abstentions? We're all set, gentlemen.
All right.
Well,
Thanks a
you.
lot, guys.
Thank you, and thank you, Connor.
Coming in.
And thank you. Thank you for your time.
Connor.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we'll take a little breath here.
Yeah, take care. Good luck with your project.
Night.
Now, Dave said that
Linden Street.
Linda Street is,
So I for
Yeah,
now?
I didn't know that until he said that, did
You're
you?
gonna present it when you present your
usually Bob
comments.
has it out
That
here.
must have been last minute.
Okay.
It's on there, isn't it?
Yeah, Linden Street is.
50 Linda Street.
That's
I
all.
would just announce that.
Yeah.
Because I think he went outside, but he didn't do anything to the crowd.
Dave, I understand that 50 Linden Street is, 50 Linden Street is withdrawn for this evening? Or,
Yeah, they've
That we
asked to be continued until the September 12th meeting at 7 PM.
do we need to make a motion for that?
Yes, you
Yes, we
do.
do, okay.
Please.
Everybody
You
listening?
can read it, then be tabled September
Take care.
Go ahead.
12th at 7
Oh,
PM.
you're talking to Christian?
I was just saying
The big
goodbye.
guy.
Saying goodbye. I still will never forget that storm. We were on Zoom. He looked like the devil.
7 p.m.
Oh, my goodness. Every time I see him.
Okay, we gotta have a motion to
Yeah,
table
he just,
the application of 107 Fonham Road LLC for a multifamily site plan review for the conversion of the existing single-family residence and attached barn located at 50 Linden Street into 3 residential condominium units. Separate properties located at R2, single-family residential zoning district, tax map parcel number 82-11, and its planning base board case number 24-11. Would someone like to make a motion to,
I
Table
will,
that till-
I will motion to table this application to September 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Second.
thank you. Those in favor, voice vote is okay? Please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, so that's all set. Now, we're looking at the application of Patrick Houghton for a multifamily site plan review for the proposed construction of 2 residential duplex structures, total of 4 units, on the property located at 46 Main Street. Subject property is located in the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District. Its tax map parcel number 63-1 and its planning base board case number 24-12. So I'd ask Dave if that is ready to be heard.
It is complete for review purposes.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion that we open this case?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, good, we got both. Those in favor, voice vote, please. Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? We're ready to be heard, and Dave, would you like to start it off, please?
Yes, as you said, the applicant is seeking multifamily site plan approval for the proposed redevelopment of the property at 46 Main Street. The They're proposing to demolish the existing service station and construct 2 new residential duplexes, along with associated parking and site improvements. All the plans are included, are dated 7/9/24 for your review. The important things to note, the applicant did obtain 3 variances from the zoning board of adjustment to make the project viable and able to come in front of the planning board. One was to permit the multifamily use, which was not allowed in the zone. The second one for relief from the minimum front yard setback requirement. And the third to exceed the density requirements in the R2 zoning district. And I provided all the copies of the letters in the packet. The plans were reviewed by the Technical Review Committee and Underwood Engineers on August 1st. Comments from the town departments were acknowledged by the applicant at the meeting. A TRC comment letter was not provided due to the limited number of comments, and most of them overlapped with UEIs. So we just kind of went with the UEI letter, which is dated August 5th. It was enclosed. The applicant did submit revised plans, supported documents, 813, which addressed the review comments received. And the applicant is requesting 2 waivers from the site plan review and subdivision regulations, which is relief from the requirement to provide high-intensity soil surveys information. Not sure that's really a waiver that's required in this instance because they're hooking up to municipal sewer, but they did submit a request for it. And from section 9.3.2.7 stormwater management for redevelopment standards, and they'll explain that as part of their presentation, I'm sure. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Who do we have presenting tonight?
I will present. Do you want us here or up at the podium?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Either one.
It's all set up.
Perfect.
Just gonna take a second.
All the microphones cost the same.
Good evening. My name is, can you hear me? My name is Erin Lambert with Wilcox and Barton. I'm the site civil engineer. And with me I have Pat Houghton, who is the owner and developer. I brought a presentation, so hopefully we can get that teed up.
Okay.
I always find colored visuals are easier than trying to explain which dark line I'd like you to pay attention to.
Every time I drive it, so why is that still there?
Do you have something I can advance? All right, perfect. All right, so we're here before you tonight for a multifamily development at 46 Main Street. Just wanted to orient you. This is the location of the parcel on Main Street. Excuse me, it's a 0.6 acre parcel. There's currently an automotive repair station. You were just walked through these variances, but I just wanted to mention that these are the 3 variances that were obtained, which will make this an allowed use, reduce the front setback to 14 feet, which we really think adds good street presence for the houses, and then also to allow the density. So this is the site plan, and I colored it just to help give it a little bit of context. So there are 2 duplexes separated by about 40 feet. The driveway is located as far northwest as we could get it, recognizing that there is a lot of traffic on the street.
Could you speak a little closer to the microphone?
I'm so sorry. There's a lot of traffic.
Just pull it up.
Yeah, you can move it. It's not anchored down. There you go.
Yeah, perfect. Is that any better? Sorry, I've had a cold. I'm not.
That's okay. Thank you. I want to make sure everybody here.
Absolutely, thank you. So the driveway is as far north as we could get it to allow as much queuing as we understand happens on the roads during school drop-off and pickup. So there are garages underneath each home. So the project requires 2 parking spaces per unit plus a half a visitor space. So in total, 10 parking spaces are required. We're actually providing 12. There is a 2-car garage for each unit. So that totals 8 parking spaces, and then there's 4 surface spaces intended to be those visitor spaces. Given that there is no on-street parking in this location, we opted to put 2 additional spaces above what's required so that, if people did have a visitor, there's ample parking on site. We are still below The maximum open space, or the minimum open space, I should say, that's required is 40%. We're exceeding that. We're at about 57%. We are below the maximum allowed for building coverage. 25% is allowed and 15 is provided. And the buildings will each be 35 feet, which is the maximum. I just wanted to give you a couple of visuals of what's there today. So the picture on the upper left is the northwest property corner, and that wooded buffer is where the driveway will be going. And then the next picture is just a little bit further to the east. This is a very large curb cut. There are 2 large curb cuts on the property. One will be closing and one will be reducing to a standard 24 feet and filling in the sidewalk. And it's interesting, I grabbed these off of Google Images, and it's good to see. The bike is on the sidewalk, which is not where we want it. And one of the discussion items that we had at the TRC was a request to have the applicant actually pull the sidewalk in. There was a section of sidewalk that we were preserving between the 2 open curb cuts and where we're impacting the sidewalk in order to make our utility connections. And they asked if we could pull that closer to the property line. Because and I saw this afterwards, I went out and visited the site, the bike lane narrows there quite significantly. So the applicant at their expense is going to pull the sidewalk in so that hopefully we avoid this condition where that bike was forced to hop up on the sidewalk or be on the road in an unsafe bike lane. So where that bicyclist is about the location where that's gonna happen. And then this is a second curb cut. This one will be entirely closed off and the sidewalk will be restored. So there'll be vertical granite curb put in and new sidewalk. The property is serviced by municipal water and sewer, as well as natural gas and electric and telecom. So this plan shows what is the hopeful, it was requested by the TRC that we consider, rather than putting a pole on our property and going underground, so it would have an overhead wire across Main Street. They asked if we could work with the utility company and see if we could go underground. So the orange line you see is what we're hoping to do, as long as the utility company lets us know that's possible. So we've started those conversations. We don't have a definitive answer yet, but that is the goal. So if they'll allow us to do it, we will. If not, where you see my note that says proposed utility pole, there will be a new pole put there, and we'll go underground on the site from that location. So just wanted to be fully transparent. That's the goal. We just need to make sure we can actually make that happen with the utility company. And then this relates to one of the waivers, but basically we are increasing the impervious area on the site, but given the stormwater controls we're designing, we'll be decreasing the amount of runoff that leaves the site, both the rate and the volume. So that's a good thing. Each building will be surrounded by a stone drip edge. The buildings are pretty tall. They'll have gutters on them, and we're working closely with the architect so those gutters can daylight into the drip edge. A lot of times when we see gutters, you end up with a point source, and it's hard to have drip edges. But I love drip edges because they're an easy way for us to infiltrate all that water. So the light blue that you see around each of the buildings is where there will be a stone drip edge, and that's been built into the landscaping plan. The parking, the grading, you come off of Main Street and you drive down into the site. Each of the buildings is a little low because, like I said, they have a garage underneath. And so what we're going to do is we're going to collect all the runoff from the pavement in 2 catch basins. And then that long light blue box that you see is an underground infiltration gallery. So that will basically infiltrate the majority of the stormwater that runs off the site. We are asking for a waiver from your site plan regulations, section 9.3.2, to connect to an existing municipal system. The connection would only be for overflow events. And even using that, we still would be sending less water, both rate and volume, from what leaves the site today. Today, a lot of water sheet flows off the property and goes out to the sidewalk and then ultimately into Main Street and into the catch basins. So we're just asking to have this overflow for large events, or sort of the top of some storm events, but it will still be less than what goes to the system in the existing condition. So I'm happy to go into more detail if anybody has questions on stormwater, but that's how we're handling it on site. We're treating it on site, and that's our requested waiver from you tonight. We pay particular attention to landscaping. We had heard some feedback during the zoning process regarding concerns from neighbors for, in terms of screening, because it's going to be, different for them. So There is a proposed fence entirely along the property line. It'll be a 6-foot-high white stockade fence. We will reduce the height of that as we approach the road. So I don't know if there's a specific length in the ordinance, or we just need to make sure we maintain sight distance. But for at least the first, 15 or so feet, we'll lower that height to 3 feet. So there'll still be a fence, but it won't be obscuring people's sight lines. We have a combination of evergreen and deciduous trees. The trees that you see sort of filling in the triangular portion, those are evergreens, so that will hopefully provide some additional buffer for the abutters throughout the year. And then you'll see there's a really nice planting beds all in the front. There's no exterior site lighting proposed, so we had contemplated putting a light pole for those parking spaces, but we really felt like even with shielding it and complying with dark sky ordinance, you can still see that light if you're a neighbor. So there will just be lighting on the buildings, motion sensor, that kind of thing at night. So it will be residential scale and not be sort of tipping into the commercial type of lighting that we often see on multifamily properties. It will be just standard residential lighting. I just wanted to end with some visuals of what these are going to look like. So this is the front of the duplex. You can see there's 2 entrances. And then this is the rear of the building where they would drive underneath. Each unit will have a deck that extends out over the driveway in the back, and each will have, a porch entrance on the front. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, questions?
I have one. When you mentioned pulling this sidewalk back,
Sure.
Can you clarify what you mean by that? Like, are you actually moving the curb line and making Main Street a little bit wider?
Correct.
The bike lane.
Exactly. I don't know that I have it. I don't know if I have it.
And I'm just curious by how much?
Yeah, it's a few feet. I don't know the distance, but in here, this goes out right now, and we're pulling it in, so you can see the back of the sidewalk will touch the property line. It's at least 5 feet that we're pulling it in.
Okay.
I can measure it. I don't know the distance, but you can see that's why. Hopefully, we'll do a little bit better job. We're going to start at the catch basin because I didn't want to change it. The catch basin's right on the garden line, which is where it should be. And we talked about that in TRC. So right after we get past the catch basin, we'll actively pull that in and tie back in this location. And out on the site, you can see the bike lane really narrows to just 2 feet, so it'll be at more of a 5-foot or more bike lane in that
That's great.
location.
I've been in that car pickup line, and there's just this like confusing, like, oh, is there room enough for me to pass the car pickup line? Is there not? And I'm just wondering like how that's that extra 5 feet, what that's gonna make people do. But I think it could be a good thing to be a little wider there.
Yeah, the goal is that it'll be consistent. Like out there right now, the lane really narrows there. So the goal will be that we provide it consistent. So it's not going to be big enough for a car to park there. We're not going to go to 8 or 9 feet. But it definitely narrows down to just a foot or 2 now. And it will be more of a standard and consistent bike lane.
Well, there's a lot of traffic because of Main Street School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plan, they have parents drive out back and drop off, which works pretty well, but it does cause a backup for a while. Yep.
Are there any buried gas tanks in that parking lot?
Not that we're aware of.
No.
But we should know for sure though, right?
Yeah.
I believe they've been removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
They've been removed.
They have been removed?
Yeah.
It was brought up in the last zoning board meeting. about
Oh,
this.
okay.
They have been remediated.
Where
They're
is-
monitoring wells there.
Yeah, so we did a file review. So Wilcox and Barton, in addition to the civil wing that I work under, we have an environmental wing, and they did a file review for Pat and reviewed basically all the DES records, and there was previously, so it has a record of all the tanks that were closed. They did have an open issue that was closed in 2014, and that's why those monitoring wells were there, but DES closed it out, so those monitoring wells, if they're still active, will be decommissioned.
So where is it? Was a garage and parked cars around here and there, so I'm just wondering perhaps if any of the soil should be tested, because you don't want to have a contaminated, some EMPBs or whatever they are out there.
Sure.
We had a similar situation with the cleaners. Just, you know, it needs, the land's got to be clean.
Yeah.
Because you know, you don't want to develop it and, yeah.
Yeah, so I worked with my environmental lead, and there's a note on the plan that refers to the DES regulations that govern that. So
Okay.
during construction, you know, if there's soil being removed from the site, it would have to go through whatever, you know, is required before it could leave the site. Otherwise, it'll stay where it is.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, my biggest concern was whether the tanks were still there, and
Yeah.
the good old days when people would just dump the oil out behind the garages for contamination. You know, we don't want anything to be there for people who are purchasing.
Yeah, so before any soil leaves the site, we'd have to adhere to any requirements.
I do appreciate the change in the sidewalk to help with our bike paths. That's important. So that's good. Could I just follow up with one more question, Mr. Chair? Do you know do you have a time frame when you plan to hear from Unitil?
Oh,
on
I
that pole?
don't know. No, we need to work with Pat. It's sometimes hard to get a work order started, so we need to get that officially started and going
Okay,
with
so
them.
there's just an inquiry on that right now then? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
There is a house out behind that property, is there not?
There's a few.
And where is the access to that structure in relationship to this plan?
Are you talking about abutting properties? Or are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it's a budding property, yes.
Is that 44?
The abutters are here, and they could probably speak to it much better
Okay.
than I. I know that directly to the south, that dog leg is a driveway that comes down to a house that's there. And then I know there are abutters to the west, and I would defer to them to answer on
Yeah,
access.
okay.
But nothing's being changed.
Nothing's being changed, no.
Right.
I mean, it's
Other
Ash
than-
Road, correct?
No,
There's
no
Ash
lot
Road
line
is the other
adjustments or anything
butter?
like that.
No.
There's no easements or anything.
One lot.
Yep.
So my whole property is along their proposed driveway, one of them. So
I'm sorry, can you just grab one of the mics? Something's going off and I can't hear.
I was trying to go forward. I apologize. That's
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
I'll stop. I was trying to go to
You
the tax
open the
map.
public hearing line?
Well, we're still talking.
Yeah, we're still chatting. Well, yeah.
No, you don't need to do that yet.
Any-
They're gonna
Anyway,
tell you where they are. They can bring up their concerns.
Okay.
anyway, the buildings look like a nice improvement.
No, I don't.
Got it?
Sorry, I was going to go back to the overview in case anybody wanted that. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, good, thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry for the beeping.
I wanted to ask you a question about the ZBA. It looks like when you went there originally, you were looking for 5 units.
Correct.
So how were you going to configure that originally? Was it going to be one structure? Or was it always going to be multiple units?
It was always multiple.
Yeah, it was a duplex and then 3 units next to it, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember
Oh,
now.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, we never had a single building, so I think it was a duplex and a triplex.
Yeah.
With your waiver request, is the town, did you get positive feedback from them about tying into it, even though?
I don't think I got a
Or
read
hasn't that
either
really-
way, to be honest.
Just curious.
Yeah, I raised it,
Yeah.
like, because Paul Vlasic was there. I mean, it's their system.
Yeah.
You know, well, it's our system, but it's, DPW. They didn't,
There was no
there was
no
no,
alarm bell?
didn't seem like, there was nothing mentioned.
Okay.
I mean, I specifically brought it up.
Okay.
And he had mentioned, we talked about kind of the system down there, there is some drainage issues coming,
Yeah.
BA and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe just based on the size and the amount of, that will leave it, because when will it go into it? What storm?
That's a good question. I printed it for that reason. Let me look. So I would say there is a little bit that trickles out in each storm, but it's really, really small until you get to the 50-year storm event. And one thing I should mention, I think I talked about this at the TRC. So the stormwater infiltration system is designed with a lot of factors of safety. And so The precondition is existing. It's how much runs off the pavement, the roof, the trees right now. The infiltration gallery, we basically take what the published infiltration rate is and we cut it in half. And so it will likely infiltrate even more than this report is showing, but that's the sort of the standard engineering practice, is to take the infiltration rate and cut it in half. But to answer the specific question, there's a little bit that trickles out in each storm. It's not significant. It's a half a CFS once we get up to the 25-year, and it's a CFS in the 50-year. And again, it's in all of those storms, it's less than what goes off today, even with that factor of safety on it. So hopefully it would be even less.
Okay, great.
Did you look at all at perhaps managing some additional stormwater in that grass area behind the parking?
Yeah, we did, and unfortunately, the grade, oh, I'm doing it again, I apologize. The grades are working against us in that regard, so the back corner is actually a little bit higher. In order to allow us to get the garages underneath, the front, you actually walk in a half a story higher, so it was a balancing act. So the water won't go back there. Our pavement is actually lower. And one of the things we were talking to one of the neighbors about tonight, right ahead of the hearing, is making sure that everything in that triangular corner where we're planning to store snow, making sure that it's graded into our site so that it goes into our stormwater and into our infiltration system, so that if they get a quick spring melt, it's not going onto their property. So that would preclude us from having the stormwater flow in that direction. And then we did explore in between the buildings. I originally was planning to do sort of a bioretention or something there, but we have a lot of utilities coming through there, and we didn't really have available space to do stormwater collection there. So the site is lending itself to come down and be the low point just after the last unit, and so that's why it's that way. But fortunately, it's just the water from the pavement. We're able to take care of everything from the buildings in those drip edges.
Well, let me open up to the public. If
Thank you very
anybody
much.
here would like to talk about this project, have some concerns or thoughts, like to have you share them with the
Want
board?
us to step back?
Sure. And,
Don't go too far, though.
yeah, don't go too far. That's right. You'll be coming back. So step up to the microphone and have a seat and introduce yourself so the folks at home and here will know who's speaking.
I'm Kevin Blair. I own 55 and 59 Main Street, which would be across from the entrance onto the property. One of my questions was, what is the curb cut size onto the property?
24 feet.
44 feet?
24.
24? Okay.
That's as it exists today, I guess.
No, it's a lot
Massive
less.
right now.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a parking lot.
that's right, yeah.
Well, I got a permit for a curb cut on my side of the street at 12 feet, so I'm wondering why there's a discrepancy or any difference.
I can try to answer that. I mean, our regulations allow residential curb cuts 24 feet. So, it might have been what you submitted. I mean, go talk to
I talked to
DPW.
Jay Perkins yesterday, and
Did he provide you an
I have a
explanation?
24-foot curb cut in 2006, when the road was improved, and because the building that I own has no access onto the property. I'm having the property divided into 2 units. The building is probably going to be torn down, and I need access onto the property. I'm only allowed 12 feet.
Well, is that a second curb cut you're talking about then? On the same lot?
I have
You have it
I have
24.
2 different lots.
Okay.
The lot that owns the flower shop has no property.
What's the frontage? How much frontage do you have?
I'd say, probably 40 feet.
That's a matter for the, we allow residential curb cuts to 24 feet. So that's, you'd have to talk to the Jay Perkins, the highway.
No, I mean, I can
road
understand
agent.
if it's multiple units, it maybe could be bigger, but I just wondered where the discrepancy is.
Now, we allow up to 24.
So if I wanted it bigger, I'd probably be able to get it?
Well, you'd have to talk to Jay. We do allow up to 24 feet. That's the first I've heard, of less than that. If there's less than that, if they have a reason, then I don't know. You'd have to talk with them, but we do allow up to 24 feet.
And then I have another suggestion that I know the town probably wouldn't want to hear, but there's many intersections in this town that are three-way intersections. They're antiquated. They should be just two-way intersections, but I'm wondering if we could have 3 stop signs on that road where it intersects with Cass Street, one on each side of Main Street, to slow the traffic, to slow the noise that is increasingly getting worse, and, many drivers have no respect for what's going on there. The town deserves to have people slow down when they approach town or are exiting the town, and make it safer for the people that live on that curve.
So I can answer just one thing of this, is that there have been intersections looked at. That was not one of them that's on the danger list because it's not really considered that. So if you want, I'm just going to suggest that you go, did you suggest that to Jay when you spoke with him, Jay Perkins?
No.
Okay, so who would it be, Paul?
Paul.
Paul Vlasic, to talk to him and see what he thinks, and then we'll go from there.
Who's Paul?
Paul Vlasic is the town engineer.
Okay.
We have an intersection improvement program that's run. The project manager of it is Paul Vlasic, and he's looking at all these intersections. There's a lot of them in Exeter.
There's a lot.
And we're looking at them and see what improvements and what modifications.
We're looking at the most dangerous and trying to
motorcycles
prioritize.
around that corner is incredible.
Yeah, I know. That was my neighborhood when I was born
When
here.
you
So,
say
yeah,
it's not a
I
dangerous
never got
corner,
better.
there is a school there.
Yes, absolutely. So go make an appointment with DPW, talk to Paul, and then we'll go
I'd
from
rather
there.
see a line of traffic than to hear the noise that I hear on that property. And, it would be, and cars becoming electric, we're not even going to hear the traffic, other than the motorcycles.
Well, right now, Washington Street and near Gale Park is being worked on. Those are the ones that are in the works right now, but it doesn't mean we can't add to them, so bring your concerns, or come to the next select board meeting and speak at public comment at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. All right, that's all,
Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to speak?
Well, no, so Beth Griffin, and I recently bought 60 Main Street. So if we went back to the first, it's 60 Main and then 60A. My only concern is just that for the carriage house, which is 60A, that there's enough of a buffer. It sounds like there will be with the 6-foot fence and then some of the trees, but that carriage house is built on a slab. So I just want to make sure that it's protected and there's no flooding or anything. That's it. And also, there were so many dead trees, as I'm sure you know, like the whole back, like people have asked me, can I get that dead wood? I'm like, it's not mine. So, but I just want to make sure all the dead trees and everything, I think, are all going to be removed. So that, my concern is just that for my tenant, and I guess for us too, just that there's enough of a buffer between, the 2 units. Right now, certainly it's going to be vastly improved from the service station. But again, just hoping that nothing adversely affects, especially 60A, which is my tenant.
Which one are you on the map?
I am 60 Main Street, so if you see the yellow around it, I'm right on, do you see?
To the
right
left?
there? To the left.
Yeah.
The one with the pretty
That has a point, that clicker has a pointer on it.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't show the carriage house.
You gotta hold it down for a second.
Yeah, it shows it as
Yeah.
one structure,
Top
kind
button.
of, on the picture.
It does, but it should,
It's not.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah. I should have interrupted you to tell you. I wasn't sure you knew. Sorry.
Arden, you can ask.
So that, the plan, did you see the plan? It does look like a pretty good buffer that they're proposing.
Well, you're
Gotta be an
proposing a fence along
Yeah.
that
A
property
fence.
line, I think.
And then you were going to ask about grading?
Yeah, and so then I'm Arden Griffin. I live at 60 Main Street as well. And then I know you had discussed, grading on the back property. And so my only concern was because 60A is so close, what's the grading / snow situation with that driveway? Because the driveway is super close to 60A, sorry. Yeah, so like that one right there, like, is there going to be snow like against that fence, or like how is it going to be tilted to reduce that?
You need to go to a mic. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
This is what happens. It's good, but.
Great questions. Now that I know where the pointer is. So the snow storage we're planning is all in the back. This does not have enough room. There are plantings here, and I can go to the landscape plan, but they won't be storing snow there. There's actually curb along the driveway as it comes in, at least for the entrance drive, which will keep the snowplow driver in his lane. And so there may be a little bit of snow, naturally next to it, but it won't be a significantly large snowbank. And like I said, I'll go to the landscape plan, but this corner has nice landscape plantings low enough so it doesn't impact sight lines, but also they won't be storing snow there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that was my only concern because it is like lower on our side, I think, a little bit. So
Yeah.
go that way, but perfect as long as it's all.
Yeah, so this is the landscape plan. You can see there's a tree, these three are shrubs, and then there are some lower plantings there to give it a little bit of a decorative element. And the fence will go all the way. It'll step down as we get here, so it's not 6 feet, but after that it'll step up and it'll be, and this right here is about 5 or 6 feet from the property line to the back of the curb. So there won't be room to store snow there other than what they might push. And like I said, there'll be a curb.
I think where you just had that I think is where the carriage house is, up a little further.
Okay.
See, right now, the carriage house just looks into woods. Like, we can
Right.
walk into, like,
sure.
before we get to Steve's service station, there's
Right.
like just
Yeah.
woods.
So that'll be cleaned up.
Yeah.
How high is the fence?
6 feet.
6 feet.
And then taper down, you said, right? To
And then
about,
taper down near the entrance just so it doesn't
It'll come down.
obscure
Sight
anybody's
line.
sight lines. Yeah. But otherwise, the majority of it will be 6 feet.
I'm good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
We're not, but. Anyone else like to speak? I got a prepared speech. Welcome.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Cliff notes.
All prepared. I guess my first question is, who owns the property, Pat? You own it now, or
Could you
Steve?
introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Dave Essence of 44 Main Street.
Thank you.
Okay. Who owns it now?
I think the owner of record is Esther Jim.
Okay. Because she said you were the owner, I wasn't sure when you first came. Okay. Hi, I had a few concerns with the construction that's coming up here, and number one is the parking. Where he's got his fence, he's going to be taking out my retaining wall, which will put me out of compliance according to the zoning rules of pages 511 through 513. It's putting us out of compliance. I have it's a free family, and we're required to have, I think, 4 parking spaces. Now, by putting that fence there, taking out my retaining wall, you're taking out 3 of my parking spaces.
Can you show us that, please?
Yeah.
You talking about the stone retaining wall on this property?
On my property.
Oh, yeah, because it says a stone retaining wall, but it shows it on this property. Is that the one you're talking about?
Proposing improvements and changes on this property, not off of the road.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Right here, there's a retaining wall that I have.
It's shown on the plans.
There's a small retaining wall in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's on this property.
So it's going to be, his fence is going across here. I imagine he's going to take down my retaining wall. And I have 3 spaces that I use right now. According to Article 5, I have to have 4 spaces.
So you're parking on his property?
What's that?
Are you parking on his property?
I suppose. I've been parking there for 36 years. But according to Article 5 of the zoning rules, it's putting us out of compliance and placing an undue hardship on us by this construction. What's happening here?
Well, that logic doesn't flow with me.
Well,
This is his
maybe if you look at
property.
the
This is his
article, read it.
application and his process, and if that is affecting your compliance, that's frankly a separate matter, especially if it's involving an encroachment.
Well, that's one interpretation.
That's right, it is.
You could look it up and see what it says. That's how I interpret it, though.
Can I just make a comment? It does look like, and I can't comment on the parking or anything, but it does look like the stone retaining wall crosses the property line. So by removing a portion of it, you could, I don't know how it's constructed, but you could conceivably alter the grading or change the structural stability of the retaining wall. So I think there is something to look into there, potentially.
So this is the access to the home that's behind?
Yes.
See, that's what's missing in the plan. We only see the project, and I'm a big picture guy. I like to see what's going on around it.
Right.
So I'm hard to figure out where the house
What number is
and how
it?
it's positioned, and that's
Yes.
just all. But anyway.
Yep. What's the elevation change there, do you know?
I don't know.
Couple feet, foot, 4
I'd say
feet?
3 or 4 feet.
3 or 4 feet?
Yeah.
And your driveway is higher or lower? Are you,
Lower.
Lower.
so the retaining wall is retaining there?
And there's even a set of steps within that retaining wall.
Yeah.
So it's got to be 7
A stone
20 inches anyway.
and fine print.
Right there? Right there. It's on one.
Stone retaining wall, yep.
You see the stairway?
Oh.
Shown pretty good on the demo plan on C1.1.
C 1.1?
Yeah.
There's a stairway
Yeah.
right there. This is the wall. It's high enough to need 3 steps. Yeah.
Does that mean that you're grading within 5 feet of the property line?
That's what I was gonna have.
Yeah, so that requires a waiver.
Are you grading? Yeah, because it sounded like, and there's no, you talked about grading in that back triangle, but there's nothing on the plans that shows that.
Oh, when I can go up on it.
Okay, because, yeah, we have a requirement that you cannot grade within 5 feet of the property line, exterior property line. So the the abutters, not along the right of way or the access, but along all the back. It wasn't clear if you were or not from the plans.
So your tenants are parking in your driveway?
In the
Driveway's
back
wide.
of the driveway.
What's that?
They park in the back of the driveway. There's 3 spaces there.
But they're along the property line?
No.
They park right up to that retaining wall?
No,
It
I
looks like the-
park there. Those are my parking spaces.
Okay,
Where am I? Okay, we're over here. Back, the driveway goes down here.
right.
At the end is 3 spaces. Now, I had 3 up here. They're going to be gone.
How wide's your driveway?
I think it's like 20 feet.
But you're parking on someone else's property. What's wrong? And
So it sounds like it's really just a grading issue, correct?
I don't know about that. No, I think you have to have 9 feet per space, 9 by 19 feet. I think it says in the article.
9 by 19 for a parking space?
I think that's what it said.
Yes.
yeah, that's right.
So I don't know. It sounds to me like in practical purposes, it's a grading issue. I don't know how you can impose a restriction on someone who owns a property in this situation.
I mean,
other than encouraging them to work with the abutter on the grading, because it sounds like a grading issue to me.
Yeah.
But when this is built, they may not want you parking on their property. So you have to resolve that. I mean, it looks like you're about 5 feet from the property line to where the retaining wall is. But they're 5 feet. So I'm not sure what you'd expect them to do. I don't know how that situation evolved. It sounds like it's been there for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And what's on the other side of the driveway?
Main Street School.
No, well, so
That driveway's right down by
you
the...
go right into the school?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a fence there.
Oh, here we are. Look.
yeah.
Oh, that's it, okay.
There's just this tiny little,
Yeah, there's a
Strip.
little island in between, I guess.
so there's the parked cars, yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
Sorry.
wow.
We're just looking at the street
Yeah,
view.
because,
You
yeah.
can see your driveway, you can see the parked cars. It helps to paint the picture.
And the bicyclist is
And the bicyclist is.
Am I in there?
Put it up there.
Jen, can you spin that just
Oh,
so we
sure.
can try to see it from here?
Can you get it up?
See it. So this is Main Street School.
Oh, those
There's like a
guys?
telephone pole and a little grass strip with some trees, and then this is his driveway.
Yeah.
It's like 2 cars parked there.
Yeah.
And then the fence will be somewhere,
Thank you.
you know, along the edge.
Telephone pole doesn't show on the plan.
well,
The telephone
Well,
pole's not there.
it's
not
between,
his, it's over
The
here.
school and my
it's not
house.
on the
Main
property.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with
You know what
it.
I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not sure what we do.
I don't know either.
Do you folks know each other?
Yeah.
You should get to.
Well, it just has to be resolved before, by this action, it puts me out of compliance. What do you do?
Sounds like you're out of compliance anyway.
Anyway,
Because if you're utilizing an abutter's property without a legal right to do it,
it doesn't
that's
count.
not complying.
Well, we were grandfathered.
There's no grandfathering using somebody else's land.
yeah.
This is what I do.
Okay.
So you're out of compliance is what it is. You're actually out of
Already
compliance
well,
now. You're utilizing somebody else's property to function. That's why I feel like this is more of a function matter, more of a practical matter in this situation. I don't think anybody from the town of Exeter is running around making sure the parking that's already existing and approved, which is where you're coming up with grandfathered, you are an existing condition and gonna, as long as you can practically get the necessary vehicles off the street to accommodate your housing, I don't know where anybody would have an issue with it. Do you know what I mean? Has anybody complained to you in the past?
No.
I think it's highly unlikely anybody will in the future unless you're parking on their land. They might complain about that. And I don't know what the applicant's intention is, if this is gonna be rentals or for sale condos or for sale duplexes or what, but if it goes to the sales process, there's probably a lot of attorneys who are gonna look at that site. And if they come out there, and banks will do this too, when they get loans, and look at if there's encroachments on the property. So this is a can of worms that's opening. You know, it's good you're getting in front of it, but the people you really need to be talking to are to your left. We're trying to help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, and usually we can resolve these things. It's not that uncommon because our lines are all over the place around here. It's an old town and zoning hasn't been around as long as the houses have been around, you know? And it's a pretty dense little area in general. I mean, your lot, is not a typical lot. We see them, but it's not typical, you know what I mean? Where you're narrow going in and then you got not just one house, but a multi, so. But you got a pretty good stretch there, so if it's laid out right, I would think you can accommodate it. But that, I was trying to get a sense of the grading issue there. Yeah, do you mind answering that?
Yeah, so it's my understanding, and I wish I had the demo plan up on the screen, I apologize that I don't, but my understanding, I think the retaining wall is partly on their property, and then it comes onto this property. And as you pointed out, there are steps and they're going up. And so our intention is we're taking that portion of the wall and the steps out. So the grade there would be the same, they're kind of steps to nowhere right now. I don't know what used to be there, but certainly we're looking to lower that.
Right.
And the only improvements we're proposing are on this property, so there's no grading going off the property. To answer the question in the triangle, we are not grading within 5 feet in there. My only comment was that in talking to the abutters, I want to refine the grading and just make sure where I am showing snow storage, that it's positively graded towards our parking spaces and not towards their lot. But certainly in this corner where we're talking, where the retaining wall and those sort of steps are coming out, we are looking to bring that down to the grade at the bottom of those steps that are kind of artificially there. So we may need to ask for a waiver for that. Again, I can't see, so I don't know if it's 5 feet or more.
Want to give her the plan?
Yeah, it's close. It's like,
Yeah,
it's close.
it's right on the cusp.
Do you not have a copy of this?
I do, I don't have it with me.
There you go.
Hey.
We have a few over here.
I think it's 5 feet.
I think it is too, but I don't want to miss.
That was my point. Probably you, at that area, you may be grading it within 5 feet of the line.
And is your intent just to beautify the property? That's why?
Correct. Yeah. So in that area, we're looking to put a fence all around the property. So the retaining wall will be removed up until, our property line, and there's going to be a fence running all along that.
Okay.
And so once we put a fence there, that retaining wall and sort of those steps going up to an elevated area, we just want that to come down. It'll all be sort of naturally at one grade.
Okay.
So it'll be at the grade at the bottom of the wall.
Right.
In order to make the garages work without having the front doors be really elevated, the site's kind of coming down low because those front steps are going to walk in a half a story up. And so, or I guess the ground is half a story and then they're going to walk up to the first story. So we're trying to balance that. So this corner on site will be lower. And so that wall and that sort of elevation is no longer needed. It'll lay out nicer.
Yeah.
So I guess just what we're showing on our plans is just this portion coming out that goes to the property line, not touching any of this. But there will be a fence that runs right on that.
It's not really.
It doesn't resolve the issue.
No.
We're not going to do it. So.
Right. What else you got?
Okay. Moving along.
Next car.
Environmental. I noticed that the two buildings on the far right are going to be built on top of where the underground storage tanks were. I know in 1988 they had a leaking underground storage tank there. They had to remove it and everything. So I wonder if there's been an environmental impact statement done or soil testing done on that. Perhaps, once you start digging, creating all that dust, you don't know what you're going to be breathing in. There's young children live right across the street. Of course, they're blown into my windows too. On top of that, the rest of the property used to be a junkyard and was there long before there was environmental laws. So who knows what is in there, what you're going to be digging out. It'd be a concern. It might be worth it to some soil testing.
So in reading the zoning hearing, it looked like the applicant has done that, right? Didn't you do a phase one?
So, no. Phase ones are typically required by lenders, and in this case, it wasn't required by a lender. So Wilcox and Barton did do a file review on behalf of the purchaser. So the tanks that we know have been closed were all closed out by DES. So they were removed, all the soil around them was tested, and then they were closed.
They're wells?
There are wells because there was some kind of an ongoing, I believe, during the construction of the sidewalk some number of years ago, they discovered contamination. So the wells were put in, and then the DES records closed that out in 2014.
Okay. Do you know how long ago the tanks were taken out?
I don't know.
You said in the 80s, didn't you?
1988.
88.
That's when, then they took them out again.
Yeah.
They replaced them, I forget when.
They filed them.
And then they took them out permanently when Down East Energy moved out.
When was there a junkyard?
Probably before 1960. Paul, you remember when there was a junkyard?
I grew up across the street.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It was a junkyard. It was a gas station, full-service gas station with grease pits. God knows what they threw out back there. Amoco.
Yeah.
I just wondered the testing that they did, was that where the tanks were, or did they do the rest of the property?
The DES records show that when the tanks were removed, they closed those out, so there had to have been testing done after those came out.
Okay, but they didn't do the rest of the property where the junkyard was?
No, there would be no legal reason for them to have done that or required that. We did add a note on our plans in response to this, and so there are, New Hampshire DES has regulations that govern this, and the plans indicate that, all of the site work will be performed in accordance with those plans. So those will govern in case any soil gets removed from the site. There's a whole host of requirements that govern that.
And one other concern I have is the fence, where it's going to be coming about 25 feet from my house. It's going to be kind of claustrophobic for us, and I wonder what it would do to the value of my property. Being like in jail over there.
They're trying to keep you in.
Berlin had one of those walls too.
That's right.
Well, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wish to speak?
I'm Paul Markey, I'm in a butter. How much time do I have? 10 o'clock? I like the plan, like what he did done to it. He listened to our concerns about the screening. Two concerns. We are now an e-commerce society, so when Amazon and UPS comes, I don't see a way they can turn around. They're gonna have to park on Main Street to do deliveries.
They do that.
Yeah, but it's a blind corner. That's another concern.
Those guys are tough too, because
They
you
park
just don't know what driver you're going to get, and some of them are just seem very unaware
They
for what
park on
they
the
do,
curb.
don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
They don't like to go. It doesn't seem to me like they like to go into property though either. Like they usually seem like they want to be on the road, doesn't it?
That does.
Yeah,
I
right up
agree.
that
It's
sidewalk.
a bad trend.
Yeah.
I
a good point.
live on Ash Street, the dead end street, and I've seen them back up, and that make me
Yeah.
cringe. Yeah, they're good, they're good. On the bottom, on that property line, there are lilacs there. I did ask if they could be repurposed within the property. That's all, because
Those are
they've been
nice
there
lilacs.
for, yeah, they've been there for years. And so is a rite of spring.
State flower.
Where are those located?
The lilacs they're on the bottom of the yeah, right here.
Oh, right there.
Property line, yeah. If you drive by there, you'll see them.
They're stunning.
Yeah, they are. They're old growth lilacs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where is the parking relationship to
yeah, where's that picture?
bushes?
Are they above or below the retaining wall? They on top of it?
I honestly didn't know there was a retaining wall there.
They're
So-
retaining wall, they're before the retaining
Yeah,
wall.
that's,
Before, what do you mean? On whose prop? On which side?
It must be the.
They have to be on.
Oh, okay.
And the steps and whatnot are down. My understanding.
I just hate to see them destroyed, that's all.
Yeah.
Because they're all old growth. That's
So
all
are
I
they
have.
on the abutting property?
Yes. It looks like
But
it.
like a buffer between the
Yeah.
two properties.
Yeah, but I mean, it all depends on whose property they're on. You know, like, yeah, it's like whoever owns them can do with what they want with them.
Yeah, my concern, I don't know where the property line is. I didn't know there was a retaining wall there. It just, if they're gonna be dug out, repurpose them somewhere within the property. That's all. That's my concern.
I'm a big fan of lilacs myself. They're beautiful.
Right of spring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Property.
They're very healthy. That's a healthy stand of lilacs there.
It is, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So too busy.
It's not 10 o'clock, what are you doing?
Well, just one other thing about that.
Can you go to the microphone?
I've never needed
Anyone
a mic
else?
before,
Oh.
but.
I'm
back. I'm just concerned about the junkyard thing. So I know you said everything would be done in accordance with DES and everything else, but can we do a proactive, test to see? I mean, those kids, that school is right there. Our house is right there. Their house is right there. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have bought my house if I knew that was originally a junkyard, but can we proactively request that? I don't know who to ask.
Well, it seemed to me the DES are the people that oversee that kind of thing.
So
And they've already,
when we had the, what do you call it, the dry cleaner property,
yes,
we requested that the applicant do a Phase 1A
yes, we
and
did.
give us the
Yes.
report.
Yeah.
Because of the chemicals that could have been there.
I don't remember what came out of that, but, I mean, there is it is a concern.
That was also, I think, wasn't it water, well, and septic there?
Yeah,
That's a
it
good
was.
point, yeah.
You know what I mean?
wonder
I
if
think that was
why.
a bigger issue because of
yeah.
that,
That was probably-
drinking
yeah.
water, obviously, right?
Did they ever build that?
Right.
I never go by there, yeah. Yeah, they did have wells.
Yeah.
So that was more because of the potential for
I
drinking.
think that was
water.
the bigger issue that we were
Yeah.
talking about at that point. That's,
I can't think of any others. The bank on Epping Road, that was a, oh my God, what do you call it?
Well, that was contaminated
That was
site.
contaminated
Right,
site, so
right.
that, I can't think of other sites that have been contaminated.
well, usually we know of
Dry
contamination, and that's when we get into that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That DES has already flagged it, you know?
Brownfield site.
But DES has obviously been involved in this property already,
Right.
and substantial work has been done, and it sounds like completed properly, and they're not monitoring it currently, it sounds like. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Closed in 2014.
Yeah. And they usually, look at the soil. They had monitoring wells on the property.
Yes, yep.
So, I mean, there could be a piece of metal rusting in the ground or something, but it doesn't sound like anything's creating real pollutant into monitoring wells, at least, right? Like oil and
Right.
chemical.
Chemical oils, yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're
This is a
definitely
junkyard.
not.
I don't see anything on DS One Stop for any junkyard. When was that?
Well, junkyard's a pretty broad term,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, I was,
Could be a bunch of vehicles that
yeah.
No.
various states of repair.
I want to
'Cause they
say,
have a
like,
mobile-
late 60s, maybe early 70s, there were a few in town, but they kind of grandfathered in, so,
Yeah, they had the underground storage tank program, they had the leaking underground.
yeah.
I don't
I
see
think Auburn
anything
Street
about
had one in this.
Would,
solid waste or junkyard facility from DES anyway.
would DES have records of that? They're well, and their records on that somewhere?
The stuff that they've already done,
Yet they'd already done?
those cases
Which
would
ones?
still be there. They probably reviewed it.
Yeah, that's what we were.
Well, I'm just wondering if that, as a condition, we would ask that we have a copy of that report.
Oh, I mean, we can get it on our own.
I don't know.
What report?
I don't know.
The
I mean,
DES,
there's probably 150 documents associated with this site, maybe more.
really? Yeah. But that's public.
Every time there's a correspondence, because DS sets a case, they open a case, there's correspondence, there's letters back and forth,
Yeah.
there's investigation, there's monitoring, there's environmental reports, they go back and forth, and then, then there's sampling after, for a certain amount of years, they say, okay, you got to sample for 5 years, you got to sample for 10 years. Usually it's a 5-year permit on monitoring, sometimes they do less. But then at the end of 5 years, they determine if you need to keep sampling, depending on the results of the first 5 years. And then at some point they close this. They determine that, okay, we don't need to monitor this anymore.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, even if they find something still residually there, they like to just keep it in place. Because then you got to dig it up and you expose it.
Right.
You're transporting it, and then where do you put it?
Well, that would be the
sometimes it's like if it's
concern
in the
about
soil,
the
they let it
junkyard
sit.
thing, right? I mean, that would be the concern about developing on the site, if you're exposing something. That's the concern that we might have right now, that they're gonna be digging, they're gonna be changing the terrain, right?
And that's my question. So
Right,
You
I
said
would
there's
think.
soil samples, but.
Step to the microphone, please, so
So it's for Exeter TV.
Folks can-
It's for
Yeah,
people,
we don't-
recordings and
Okay.
things.
we got our favorite people out
We
there
can hear
watching.
you, but we need to make sure the
Okay.
public can.
That's my only concern, though, is that when they said they would sample the soil, does that mean like every shovel will be? Because the whole thing is, once you break ground, how do we know the whole thing will be tested? Do you know, I don't
It
know where
won't
the
be.
junk.
The whole thing won't be.
They do samples. Yeah.
They do random sampling as well.
Same
Okay.
idea with
With the
positions of
wells as
The
well.
wells
Like
are
they don't-
randomly, yeah.
It's like test pits, they kind of dig certain areas, and it's the same kind of thing.
So worst case scenario, let's say it's terrible, so the whole thing is shut down then? Because they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to
There was-
disrupt it? Is that what you?
Well, the contractors, everyone has a responsibility. They start digging a hole for a foundation and they see oil like leaking out of the hole, then they have a responsibility to stop and contact DES and so forth. So they have a responsibility. That's with everything. Because you don't know where anything, there's a lot of stuff out there. We don't know where it is. And, if you're digging, you have a responsibility to let them know. I think that's what she was talking to about when contractors and developers, do that, they have a responsibility.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm not coming
Thank
back
you.
again.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
I guess I would re-ask my question was, did they test specifically for the storage tanks, or did they test the soil where the junkyard was?
I don't think we know the answer to that.
The records that we reviewed were related to things that DES would look at. So if there was a underground storage tank that was discovered and removed and then closed, there was a record of that. The contamination they found in the late 2010 or early 2010s that necessitated the monitoring, that was those wells. They did it around there. So it would have just been those areas.
Just for the tanks?
There's MTBE and something else.
There was something else they found when they were
PCBs,
building the
maybe?
sidewalk, I believe.
Yeah. Well, what we're concerned with where the junkyard was.
But when you say junkyard, what was that? What was there?
Paul lived.
They used to throw out all the old parts. There might have been a vehicle there with just old rusted parts. That my dad's where they're getting them off
Right.
to put in this.
Piled up?
Yeah.
Yeah, piled up.
Okay.
Yeah. What they threw out there, I don't know.
Oh, so it's associated with the mobile station?
Amoco.
Okay.
And again, that was before there was environmental laws too.
Yeah.
So who knows what's out there?
Okay. So then let me close this part of the public session and bring it back to the board. See what our deliberations are. Any other questions or thoughts? So, to me, it appears the two structures are basically the same thing. I'll call them cookie cutters, for lack of a better term. How about flip-flopping so they're not exactly the same fronts? Just put, I don't know, maybe don't think about that, but.
Flip-flopping, is that a official term?
It's another song.
Chair plumber?
With the left side, the right side, and the right side on the left side.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not saying flipping, it's flip-flop, technical term.
All right.
So it would be a mirror image?
Right, mirror image. Put the bedroom on the other side and you'll just, anyway.
That's a construction term.
There's only two buildings.
I
It's
know.
not like it's 10
That's
in a
right, not
row.
gonna be a 1949 neighborhood, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's not really many situations where you'd see them both at the same time. Because like you're gonna be, I mean, unless you live right across the street and like have a perfect view, but I don't know. Because you'll always see it like an angle.
Those are only flip-flops.
Yeah, it's a... So what's our obligation on the potential environmental issues?
I think, from what from the reports that they've received from DES and what Dave says about the responsibility the contractors have. And if it's car junk, then it's old brake drums and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm envisioning. I don't think
As
it's
long as it weren't
dug a
dumping oil
hole
out
and,
there,
and it's oil, but...
Not like the oil changing station down at Rose Farm. Drove the tractor in and just drained the oil out. We want to move ahead with...
Well, I think, I guess I had a question about the environmental stuff. I guess I'll ask the applicant.
Okay.
So, are you under option on this property? Is that what it's kind of going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you intending to do?
The property is under agreement,
Yeah.
subject to
Sure.
approvals.
Okay. So, are you planning to do an environmental review of this site, considering what it has been, what it is now in the past, before you purchase, or?
I'll rely on the environmental experts
Yeah.
to help me with that.
Okay.
But as we said earlier, because it's a site that does have a file in Concord.
Right.
I believe we do have to follow certain protocol going forward.
Sure. And I would think, is your intent to own this as a rental property?
No,
Or there's
no.
condominium?
Condominiums.
Condominiums?
I believe so.
So you're recognizing that it's in your best interest to resolve those issues prior to purchase.
It is.
And it's in your best interest because you're going to try to resell that and potentially dealing with 4 other buyers, 4 other lenders that are all going to have these same concerns and questions, right?
That's right.
Okay. I think we're all
Well, would that require...
rowing in the same direction
Yeah.
here. It's not an owner who's owned it for 100 years during this whole process and might be trying to maybe pass the buck or something, right?
Yes, so you alluded to it earlier. The people that buy these properties, unless they're buying it with cash.
Right.
They will go to a bank.
Right.
And the bank will research the history of the property.
Exactly.
And it's important that so it behooves us to have a...
You want a clean bill of health when that's done. Yeah, for
Otherwise,
sure.
we can
You might be
possibly
owning
only
it.
sell them to cash
Yeah,
buyers.
That's right, that's right. And those cash buyers aren't always naive either, so.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
You would think they would do the same due diligence, but not always. Okay, thank you for that. It helps.
So do you see a little condominium association?
Yes.
Does it have that kind of a document? Do we require that?
Yes, that's a...
Yeah, that would be a condition of approval that we need the docs.
Okay, all right, yep.
So, as usual.
Yeah.
So do you have any comment on the issue that one of your butters brought up about the stone wall and the line stuff? I mean...
I think I need to get out there with David and take a look at it in more detail. We have met on a couple of occasions through this process, so we have a good working relationship. And if we need to get creative to help him, we will certainly consider that.
Yeah, it seems like he seems like a decent guy. I don't think he's trying to just give you a hard time.
He's a good guy.
And, I mean, a lot of times he's had the opportunity to resolve that, and if it's not a big deal to move something a little bit, it can sometimes make a property much more functional for everybody.
Sure.
And I would think if I'm buying at that property, and that property line moved, and I'm just talking out loud, a couple feet, potentially, and I'm buying one of these new condo units, I am not gonna care about that.
Right.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
That side of the property is probably gonna have a real low impact on my quality of life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Unless it violates a setback.
That's setback, yeah.
yes, of course.
So, that 2 feet can matter greatly in that case.
Well, that's something to be negotiated, I guess. And, you know, everybody has their own rights, too. They can or they don't have to do anything necessarily. But if you can work it out, it sometimes is a good time to do it. Anytime there's transitions, you know. We try to work towards bringing things more into compliance, if possible, when we see stuff comes in front of us, you know.
He does have a little bit. There's a little bit of room for that setbacks.
Is there?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're doing a lot with the site. I think you guys have got a lot of good stuff going on there. I know this board isn't excited usually about additional parking beyond requirements, but in this case, I think it makes a lot of sense to have it. I know I haven't been able to use my entire garage for parking in a long time. Really? Assuming that the people with their own garages aren't just putting vehicles in there like the rest of the world, it fills up as extra storage, and having that extra parking spot might really be helpful. And there is a lack of on-street parking in that area, although you do see cars quite a bit. I mean, I'm in that area a lot, so I think probably all of us
It's
are.
a busy area.
It is a busy area. And you seem to be working a lot with trying to balance what you're trying to do with accommodating the neighbors the best you can also, which is, we appreciate that.
One of your abutters was commenting on the fencing, and I mean, there are all sorts of reasons for putting fencing in, but would you be open to having a vegetated instead of having a vinyl fence?
Yes, I heard David's concerns there, so we can look at that.
I mean, it's less maintenance. Fences get, especially the vinyl ones, they get broken, over the years, they can twist and change color, so it might be nice to have a vegetated fence line.
Seems like that area
Otherwise-
gets a lot of sun too. Like I
Yeah.
think stuff would do well,
Yeah,
don't you?
Yeah. I would think so.
Well, certainly being human.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Agree. So should we?
I have a couple little I have a couple questions.
Couple lists.
Is there lighting in this project? Is there any lighting proposed?
On the building.
Just on the building.
Just on the buildings, okay.
Nothing in that.
Usually we like to see don't we usually require seeing the photometrics for even lighting on the buildings? To make sure there's no trespass and whatnot?
Generally not for duplexes.
Not for duplexes, okay.
No, generally not.
Okay.
No, that's for commercial, streetlights, and so forth. We usually do that.
Okay.
I mean, not to say, if you got an issue, not to say you can't request it.
The back door. Up by the back door garage, yeah. There's probably some street lighting in that neck of the woods somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that telephone pole.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a light.
But then that's not stopping any of the owners from putting in lighting after they purchase it, and they wouldn't need, any type of approvals for that.
Yeah. The walkways are asphalt, the walkways, so I'll start by saying, I think that the architecture is really nice and looking, and I think it'll really look nice in the context of the other historic houses in the area. The landscaping plan is lovely. I love the diversity that was included in the plant species. And it looks like some quality materials, and then you've got like asphalt walkways, and it's just kind of a bummer. Like I think having those walkways be concrete and having them be just like a different material from the sidewalk is asphalt, could just really put that touch of finish and touch of class on this
Sure. No, I
development.
understand.
So I would recommend
Maybe
that.
consider that.
And then Unit 3 and Unit 4 has a retaining wall in front of it. It looks like a low, like maybe 2-foot retaining wall. It's labeled segmental block, but there's no detailing, there's no like cap detail. Like what is that gonna look like?
Yeah, so it'll be a standard, we didn't spec it, the developer can, if you're looking for a commitment, we can certainly do that. So what we were trying to do was decrease the scale, and like I said, this one is a little bit lower, and so we put in a wall to help decrease the scale of that. So it's just gonna be 2 feet, so it won't need fall protection, it'll just kind of blend in. So it's envisioned to be something, a small scale, like an Allen block or something. But if you'd like a commitment on what that looks like, we can get that.
I think it'd be good to just show a detail on the plans of what the construction of that would be, and I think that could just be a condition, because typically any kind of like built structure on the site plan should be detailed.
Sure. Yep, we have a detail we can add.
And those are that's all I had.
I think that's a good point about the asphalt. And I don't think I've ever heard you say that a landscape plan was lovely.
Yeah.
I just want to make a note of that. You should be very complimented by that.
record.
Those don't come easy out of her.
Sounds like it's going to cost me a lot of money.
You just bought a lot of plants.
She could suggest, granite slab wall. Let's get right up there. Well, that's not that. Got a request to waiver to high-intensity soils and stormwater management redevelopment standards.
You want to get into those?
Would you like,
That first one, I would say you don't need it.
don't need it, this,
It's being hooked into municipal sewer.
Okay.
I don't see the point in it.
So maybe we should
That's usually how we've applied it
Yeah.
in the past.
just discuss it so they don't feel like we're ignoring their application. So we're agreeing that they don't need that.
Yep.
The high-intensity soil survey waiver motion, we're not going to make it because we don't feel that the applicant
Needs.
with their current application that it's necessary.
Yeah.
yes.
You ready to make such motion?
Is that a motion?
Or is it just-
It's not a motion, I just had a discussion, huh?
No discussion.
We don't need to do it.
You said no motion, we don't need to do it. Or just
You want me to make a motion and we don't need to do
consensus, we
it?
don't.
All right, we'll do that.
All right,
Just to
let's
be
do that.
Official.
weird, I am making a motion that despite the applicant's request for a high-intensity soil survey waiver, as a board, we do not feel it is necessary with this current application.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's do a hand vote on that, please. Those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Opposed? Abstentions? That carries. So we take care of that one. Page 2. No.
Somebody else do this one.
Storm management for redevelopment standards waiver motion, okay?
And that's described in their August 13th, well, received August 13th, their August 12th letter from Wilcox and Barton. They addressed the 5 criteria. It's included in your packet. Basically, it's for tying into the municipal storm system.
I mean, you don't need to read.
So that would be in order to,
I don't think we're doing that whole,
Yeah.
the criteria thing you're
board
talking
with
about. But
Well, it's all in writing, you've read it, and you're
Yeah.
confident with it, then you can. If someone wants to hear it, then hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna just belabor this a little bit because I haven't actually read through I didn't do my homework and I didn't read through this, and I am a little concerned about it because I do know that we have some pretty significant stormwater issues in this part of town. I know our system and our old pipes are taxed and just, it's, we require properties to manage their own stormwater in new development. I understand that it's better than it would be better than it is now, but you're still contributing, so.
yep. It's kind of like a wetland.
Yeah, and I'm not super convinced that all the other options haven't been, are not feasible. Because it does seem like there's quite a bit of area on the site to manage stormwater. But, yeah, if you don't mind us going through the different
You want them to read the
criteria.
application?
Yeah, I don't know how best to do it, besides just reading it into the record.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
You got it right here.
I printed the
They
wrong
got
one.
it.
I printed the high-intensity
She
soil
needs it.
survey. I didn't.
Oh, I got the waiver. I got this one right here. Huh? Oh, yeah. I'd get up, man.
You're fine.
So the thing is, we used to make everybody do this every time, so don't feel that
No, don't.
special right now.
Oh, I do. I do.
We just try to streamline it when we can, but it's not always feasible.
Okay. So the waiver is a waiver to section 9.3.2.7, stormwater management for redevelopment, which states that stormwater runoff generated from redevelopment shall not be discharged from a redevelopment site to the municipal stormwater in volumes greater than discharged under existing conditions. And so it specifically says volumes, and we're not discharging greater volume. So that was one of the things. The existing development does not include any stormwater controls, so the runoff sheet flows from the development towards the offsite catch basins. The proposed redevelopment includes one culvert to direct overflow from the infiltration gallery to the closed drainage system. The proposed overflow discharges less flow to the municipal stormwater than what sheet flows to the system today. Regarding the criteria, the granting of the waiver will not be detrimental to public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to other property. The granting of this waiver will decrease the existing sheet flow from the development and will instead direct overflow stormwater via a closed culvert to the same catch basin number 4. The redirection and reduction of stormwater runoff will provide enhanced safety for the public by mitigating sheet flow runoff over a pedestrian sidewalk. Additionally, public health and safety is enhanced by decreasing the flow path for the runoff, which therefore decreases the potential pollutants collected in the stormwater. Criteria number 2. The conditions upon which the request for a waiver is based are unique to the property for which the waiver is sought and are not applicable generally to other development. The conditions of this redevelopment are unique for the property since the existing development currently does not include any stormwater controls, which is rare. Criteria 3. Because of the particular physical surroundings, shape, or topographic conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship to the owner would result as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of these regulations are carried out. A hardship is present to the owner that supports the inclusion of this proposed overflow culvert, since the development's existing stormwater runoff is directed to the municipal stormwater system via sheet flow and will be decreased in the post-development conditions. The proposal includes a closed pipe connection where sheet flow runoff exists today. A hardship would be provided to direct the infiltration gallery overflow in a different manner due to site constraints and economic feasibility of the gallery design. The granting of the waiver will not be contrary to the spirit intent of the regulations. Our response is that granting the waiver will not be contrary to the spirit intention of the regulations. The waiver will not in any manner vary the provisions of the zoning ordinance or the master plan. Those are the 5 criteria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask the applicant a question?
Yeah.
Because you made the statement that your volumes are not greater.
Correct.
Then why do you need a waiver?
Because we need to send some of the existing volume
Well,
that
no,
goes today,
it
but they're
says,
not greater.
this is what it says. It says, runoff shall not be discharged from a redevelopment site to a municipal storm system. I'll skip over the, wetlands, water bodies, because that's not applicable. Let me just read it, like, runoff shall not be discharged from a redevelopment site to municipal stormwater systems in volumes greater than discharge under existing conditions. So if you are less than volumes, then there's no need for a waiver.
Hear what he's saying?
Yeah, I do. I was thinking when we talked about it at the TRC, you were saying that any piped connection wasn't allowed. But if it is, in fact, like we just dug into the details, and if it is volume.
You didn't mention that the sheet flow existing going into the stormwater system actually exceeds what will be going in after.
That kind of makes intuitive sense just based on the.
Yeah, I just didn't know those numbers, so now that I say it, the waivers move. If the volumes are, you're saying the volumes are decreasing,
all of the
then it doesn't need a waiver.
Okay. So you have a zero waiver application.
So,
okay,
there you go.
Except for the potential grading and
5 feet from a
of the
property line. That needs to be in writing. We don't have that.
Yes.
If they are grading within 5 feet of the property line.
I mean, that retaining wall is within 5 feet of the property line, so.
It's right on, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, removing it is.
Well, what I measure, it's like 5, it's right there.
All right, so you
It's
probably
right
need to
there.
draft, if you want us to keep going. you probably
Because
need to
it's
draft.
grading, it's not just, it's grading. They're not changing the grade in that area, like, they could remove that wall, which I think the wall's like 5 or, it's like 5 feet.
It's not that tall there, right? It's a few steps.
No, I meant the edge of the wall is 5 feet from the property line.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I guess I don't know if are you grading? Would you accept a condition not to grade within 5 feet of a property line? If you have to, you can.
And does grade mean change the grade or do any disturbance?
Yes. Changing
But
the
in
grade.
theory, how do you remove a retaining wall without changing the grade? The retaining wall is
Correct.
holding up.
No, correct. What I'm saying is
We'd have to leave the
this,
retaining
and
wall.
here's the land, right?
Yeah.
This is gonna be regraded. I think 5 feet is like right here.
And they just.
Yeah, but I don't think that's true. I mean, I measured.
Look, what do you get?
I'm measuring in Bluebeam and the retaining wall is entirely within 5 feet,
Okay.
but.
Yeah, the plan shows. Scale it out, it's
Come back.
like right at 5 feet. Yeah, it might be a little bit, yeah.
Because we're gonna be lower.
So,
It like goes up and then we're gonna be down.
That's a waiver
We could leave
that
it,
we
but it would have to
grant.
stay.
consistently.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the purpose of it, the
Especially in an
intent
urban
of it is to provide a smooth transition to the abutter's property.
Right.
You don't want to be able to grade, all of a sudden, an abutter has a,
Yeah.
3 or 4 foot wall right next, at the property line, or a 3-to-1 slope coming right
Right.
down. It wants that 5 feet to keep that transition
Keep
the
it
way it
gentle.
is today.
Yeah.
Basically, and it sounds like that's
That's our-
gonna be what it is today.
That's the intention, because the retaining wall, or the steps in the retaining wall go up, and because we're lowering the site, you're gonna have a retaining wall that's just kind of sitting up with no grade that's
Right.
needing to be retained. So certainly, we want the smooth transition, and that is the intention and the
Right.
goal of this, and I apologize that I didn't catch that it was
That's
within
okay.
that 5 feet.
So it might make sense for you to put one together on that while we waive the requirement of the vote on not making this other waiver.
Oh, yes, okay.
Go for it.
We have can we do it without John?
Let's deal with that.
Oh, where did we go?
He had to walk.
John went to the potty.
Oh, we still got it.
All right, get enough?
Continue.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion regarding the stormwater management for redevelopment standards waiver request by the applicant. It's our determination as a board that this waiver is unnecessary with the application as presented tonight.
Second?
Moved and seconded, okay. And questions? A hand vote, those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, opposed?
And the record.
Abstentions?
Yeah. Record shows John's not here to
We'll
vote.
put John down as an abstention.
One
Carries.
abstained. Yep.
And when he complains about the minutes next time,
You can probably just do that like with a quick narrative.
I'm doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying a quick narrative is all you, don't go crazy. we know what the requirements are. You just read through them for another waiver. I used to get so tough on that. And read the whole thing every single time.
Well, in this case, I appreciated it. then,
Yeah,
because
no.
Yeah, it
Make
sounded.
sure it all applies.
Yeah.
Right, totally.
I want to make sure I understood it.
John, you just abstained.
First time in his life.
Funny.
I had to record your vote somehow.
So would you vote?
That we didn't need the
waiver.
Stormwater
Bless
management
you.
waiver.
And the,
But we are requesting
At the same time.
waiver to grade within 5 feet of the property line, just to be safe.
just to be safe.
Okay. So I have a waiver request.
All right.
Go ahead, look at that.
It has today's date on it, surprising. On behalf of Pat Houghton, we request a waiver to allow grading within 5 feet of the property line, specifically in the vicinity of the retaining wall to be removed. The intent is to remove the wall, which will no longer be needed. The development will remove the grade behind the wall. Sincerely.
And that does a good enough job of locating.
we know
I'll take
what-
it later.
Section? Dave,
Section?
do you have the
Yeah, I
section
don't
on
know what
that?
the section is. I don't-
No.
Now the numbers.
I
Which
think
is
it's not.
Dot here, dot the i's,
Yep.
cross the t's.
In front of the wall, which is his property.
They could sell them some.
4, so it is 9.3.6.4.
What's it called? The grading within 5 feet of,
Yeah, it says in order to create a smooth and safe transition between newly graded areas and the surrounding butters, there will be no grading within 5 feet of any exterior property line.
you can do it if you want.
Okay. You're doing a good job tonight.
Am I? I got one wrong, I read one wrong.
See, next time.
So the applicant has a waiver motion to be allowed, a waiver motion from section 9.3.6.4 in regards to grading within 5 feet of the property line. The applicant has presented their need to work within that area to do their project properly. This is relating to planning board case number 24-12.
Second.
Any discussion? Hand vote, please. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Oppose? Abstention? There, we got that squared away. And you just give that to the nice man over there when you don't get up now, just relax.
Should've been on an airline. You bringing cookies by me?
So we have a motion coming up?
So probably just gotta review our conditions,
Oh, that's right.
right?
Well, maybe Dave should do this one, because he has all his...
I got some standard ones to suggest, and the couple that I picked up on that the board, I think, well, at least one. One, electronic as-built with the details acceptable to town shall be provided prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for any units. This plan must be in DWG or DFX file format and in NAD 1983 State Plan, New Hampshire, FIPS 2,800 feet coordinates. 2, all monumentations shall be set in accordance with section 9.25 of the site plan review and subdivision regulations prior to signing the final plans. A stormwater management operation and maintenance plan checklist for the stormwater features on site shall be provided to the satisfaction of the town planner and town engineer prior to signing the final plans. The checklist shall be completed and submitted to the town engineer annually on or before January 31st. This requirement shall be an ongoing condition of approval. 4, all applicable state permit approval numbers shall be noted on the final plans. All appropriate fees to be paid, including not limited to sewer, water connection fees, impact fees, inspection fees, prior to the issuance of a building permit or a certificate of occupancy, whichever is applicable. 5, all landscaping shown on plans shall be maintained, and any dead or dying vegetation shall be replaced no later than the following growing season, as long as the site plan remains valid. 6, the applicant shall submit the land use and stormwater management information about the project using the PTAP online municipal tracking tool. The PTAP submittal must be accepted by DPW prior to signing the final plans. 7, all condominium documents, including the declaration and bylaws, shall be submitted to the town planner for review and approval for consistency to the planning board's approval prior to signing the final plans. In the event the town planner deems that review is needed by the town attorney, this review shall be at the applicant's expense. 8, condominium documents shall include maintenance requirements for all the stormwater features and the annual reporting requirements. And 9, final plan shall show final plan shall show any significant trees that will be removed. I don't know if there is, but this was remember you threw this? The board came up with this because they didn't identify the significant trees to see if there's any 22-inch grade or caliper trees on site. So final plan shall show any significant trees that will be removed to accommodate the proposed development. If any significant trees are identified to be removed, they shall be replaced at a 1-to-1 ratio with native deciduous trees with a minimum 3-inch caliper and shown on the final plans. And 10, final plan shall contain a detail of the proposed retaining wall. I think that captured everyone.
Do we want to have anything in there about the substitution of trees and if they do decide to do that?
I think you should.
So if they decide for some substitute trees for part of that fencing, if they and the neighbors decide to not include a vinyl fence or whatever type of fence they're putting.
Oh, yeah.
We probably need
like
to
the vinyl
flesh
fence
that out a
may
little bit.
be replaced with a
Exactly.
living fence.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The vinyl
All or in part.
Is that-
Not necessarily all of it, or part.
be replaced all or in part
Yeah.
by a living fence.
Right.
Okay.
Do you want to be
Should we
any,
say like in collaboration with,
I was wondering if,
Butters?
do you want to do anything specific about the living fence replacement? I know we have some experts in that regard. Or you want to just leave it out there? I mean, Dave,
yeah, I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's
it'll work?
a lot of space
Living
for a
fences are
living
much.
fence. I mean, they've
You
already
know,
got
take up a
it.
lot more real
They do.
estate. than,
They've already got
than
like
fencing.
a nice row of evergreens
I know.
along the back corner. So that's where I feel like, you know, if the neighbor feels like that fence is encroaching a little too close to his property, if he's fine with just the evergreens, I think the fence could probably go. But like where the driveway comes up close to the fence, you couldn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't be there. I think it was the neighbor on the lower side of the plan.
Yeah, with the cottage.
The pork chop shaped lot.
Yeah,
Dave?
yeah,
Dave, yeah.
yeah.
You.
So would you rather have just
Okay.
a bunch
You
of,
lied the
a
wrong
bunch
one.
of
You mentioned not
evergreens?
wanting the fence, or?
Now, yeah.
He said he felt like he was in a jail.
Right now, we have the lilacs line both sides of that, the driveway. So they grow very good there. I get some Rose of Sharon too. The lilacs they were talking about are my lilacs.
That's what it sounded like, yeah. That's what it looks like anyway.
Yeah, you go by my house, 44 Main Street.
Yeah,
The lilac
pretty.
house is
It's nice.
And,
But that's on the other side, right?
On both sides.
Oh, both? Okay.
yeah, there's 2 lines of lilac.
Okay.
Do you have an issue with that? With, you know, using the lilac along that driveway instead of the fence in that area?
I don't have an issue with it. You're talking about, Dave, you're talking about the what is that?
Just on the, if that's north-south, the south, you know, kind of southeast corner. Yeah, right there.
Well, we're showing a fence to there or all the way to the,
Looks like it starts there.
Well, whose property are the lilacs on, though?
It sounds like,
We thought it was ours.
based on this, based on that,
Probably on both at this point, right? They
based
grow.
on that plan, it's
Yeah.
right on the property line. See the little
Okay.
existing?
Because they're digging all that up
Bubbles.
for their
That's the
stormwater
proposed line.
too.
We've pulled it back. That's not the existing tree line that's proposed.
Yeah. And they're digging that up for stormwater.
Like if you look on the
so-
demo plan, you can see the existing tree line.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And one of my big concerns is the front of our house.
right here,
I don't want to look
at a
out my
fence.
windows and just see a fence right there.
Well, maybe we can
If we
take
had like a
evergreens here.
little
Yeah, that's what I
Right
was
there.
thinking would
Or
be
Where he's
something.
pointing, right there?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking,
That's
a
your
living fence. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Because the driveway goes straight back.
That's the only place I was.
We can
Yeah, that would
eliminate the
make
fence
sense.
here, possibly.
Well, that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want it?
What?
The
Someone
fence by those evergreens?
Yeah.
The evergreens would be great.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of a fence, but I don't want to be telling him what he
No,
can and
but
cannot do.
this is when we do it.
But
This is when we do it.
in front of the house is just, it's gonna feel so claustrophobic.
I could see that.
I could see that.
You're right.
Just so I'm clear, is it this portion of the
That's-
fence
yes,
that
now it
would
is.
On the other
preferably
side.
be green and not white vinyl?
Yeah.
And low, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just so you know, just caution you, they cannot do it, right? They don't
Yeah.
put in a fence, but if the condo owners buy it and say, oh, there's a piece of fence missing, they can put in a fence without any type of planning board approval. You know, so, see what I'm saying? So it's.
As a neighbor, they have the
As a
right.
neighbor, just as you could put up a, fence, and they couldn't say
Yeah.
anything against you, so just to caution you that it might happen in the future, and there's
Yeah.
nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, but for
You know,
now.
We can start it out without, if they're willing to do that, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, okay.
And then we'd love if the lilacs by the driveway, if those could stay as the fence, that would be preferable, right?
It'd be much more beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you guys want a fence on that property line at all?
Not really, but
Like I say,
it's,
We've been
you know,
using lilac.
it's not our choice necessarily, like
A
you
lot
said.
of times, I mean, you're doing it for screening, I would assume, so the natural screening, we generally prefer as a board, for sure. I don't think you're worried about animals running back and forth,
No.
right?
And it's, for 36 years, we've owned the house, that's our, you know, we have the main house.
Right.
And we rent out 2 tiny little apartments in the
Sure.
back. We look out our windows, and for 36 years, we've looked out at grass
Right,
and lilac bushes.
Sure.
And now we're gonna look out at the back of a fence.
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, in the back of a building.
But we know legally, we probably don't have a say in it, but we're here to voice our concerns, and that's
No,
our
I
concern.
mean, it usually goes both ways, too. Most, the new owners are gonna wanna have a view that they find appealing too, which often a living fence is more appealing to the new owners also, you know what I mean? It's in general, that's the way it goes. So maybe we should discuss that a little further before we finalize the vote, I think.
Yeah, consider the living fence, right? Because you don't want to just leave an open section.
I agree.
Like,
It's gonna look really weird.
it'll, wait a minute.
Prone to breaking.
They'll
It's gonna look
probably
really
put it, they'll put it in like.
Makes you
first
want
thing.
to attach it.
Exactly, so it would end right at that corner.
Right.
And then you could do consider a living fence for the rest of the way.
Yeah.
You see, you know which
Yeah.
corner I'm talking
You're
about?
talking about this, you're talking about.
Where's the?
That corner, yeah. From there to there, from there to to Main Street, consider living fence.
Yeah.
So the only thing I have to consider is that, if you can see that line there, that's the underground infiltration gallery. So I just need, and you can see it's fairly close. So I just need to make sure that we can fit that in and not, so we'll try to reconfigure that or scoot it a little bit or what we can. But just knowing that that's a tight little corridor, we'll get creative.
But I'm thinking, what I'm hearing
Yeah.
is that the living fence doesn't necessarily need to be on your property. If the lilacs serve that and are on his property, they could act as it and just leave it. That's what I'm hearing, right? Yeah, okay.
It sounds like
So I guess what I'm saying is you don't have to plan anything between, you don't have to plan anything between the infiltration and the property line.
If there's already.
Yeah, if there's already lilacs, to just leave them, yeah.
But, yeah, have that, so how do we identify that in our, that's a.
Well, I was going for more there. I was going for nothing along Dave, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Ann.
And Ann's property line, except living fence, except living landscaping, I guess. I don't like to call it screening, I guess. You know, where they're planning to put the trees in anyway on that back left corner. Yeah, get rid of that fence, right?
That would be fine.
You don't want it.
No.
I don't know if you really want it. Do you really want that fence?
We may want that fence.
You may?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I guess I would maybe say if
Because
these,
dog owners might want, like.
I know.
Right.
Dog owners
Well,
like the fence.
The
yeah.
lights and things too, I would think from the parking spots, right?
Pulling into parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, headlight.
Yeah. I
But
would
the
think.
living fence should do that, but,
Yeah.
Well,
right, it's
a
solid.
living fence would on that side, but the trees
It's solid
would-
right away,
Right.
yeah, it does, it
Yeah,
blocks that.
That's why the solid fence, I'm not really that
Against it?
hung up on that section.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's in front of the house.
So that one piece?
Yep.
Okay. All right. How are you gonna word that one, Dave?
I'm not sure it's a condition. I think it's the same way.
Okay.
The vinyl fence may be replaced all or in part by a living fence.
Yeah.
That's good.
You already,
Right.
To be
You know.
negotiated.
Because if the lilacs are on their property,
yeah,
that's not
because like if you
part of
approve it
their
with the fence on
purview.
there, then you go out and get a CO and say, you need to
Right.
put this section of fence.
Oh, you have to plant
This allows you
something
to
there.
do one or the other.
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable.
Without requiring one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I have one other thing that I just want you to tell me that I'm being overly cautious. Do we have anything about the environmental on the approval? Does the town feel like the town needs something there?
Do I need something there? No, I mean,
You're the representative of the town here tonight.
yeah, but
You would have asked for it if you needed it?
probably not, like, if I would ask for it in this case, I'd probably ask for it in every case.
Okay.
I mean, this does have a history, but it does have a history. It's all
Right.
recorded.
No.
It's probably more known of what's out here than most places, because it has files on it. They did monitoring wells, they monitored it, and they closed the site.
Okay.
So that gives me more insurance than,
Yeah,
than something unknown.
I understand what you're saying, sure. Okay.
Yep, I hear that.
But, I mean, you can discuss, free to discuss it. I mean.
John, would you like to make a motion tonight?
No.
No, okay.
And let me ask a question, will the AG have any, will they look into that when you're condoing the site?
Will they look into
Yeah,
what?
would
I'm
look
sorry?
any, a clean bill of health on the site, or is it just the owners?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know the owners and the banks will, I
Right.
mean, unless you get 4 cash buyers.
Which,
but-
in this market, you actually might. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
you know what I'm saying?
You could get 4 cash
You might
buyers.
get 3 of them
Yeah.
for each unit. It's crazy still, but, that's, again, though, I mean, as long as we don't feel like, we're obviously not aware of anything that requires us to ask for a condition. And like Dave said, it has been reviewed essentially in the past because of what it has been. I would expect that you're gonna do some serious looking before you sign on the dotted line with this kind of an investment. But that is an assumption, so,
And before this property was going up for sale and homes are going to be built, did you ever bring this to anyone's attention before that? About the possibility of,
Us?
yes.
Yeah, actually, you called the EPA.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 80s,
When they had that.
when they had the whole thing.
The leaking storage tank, they had about a 20-foot pile of
Because you said,
hazardous material in Steve's yard. And it laid there for about a month. We just moved in. I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old.
Got it.
And I went next door. and said,
Can I
"Hey,
ask
get
you
a-"
to step and use the microphone so our friends at home are not going to yell at me?
Sorry about that. So here's a story. That's a good story for you.
this is a good story.
We moved in
late. It's like-
August. I'll be here. It's too late. We moved in August of 1988, and they were pulling out that leaking storage tank, and there was like about a 20-foot pile of hazardous material on Steve's yard, the gas station. And it was sitting there, and I would go next door and say, "Hey, you going to get rid of this pile of hazardous waste?" "Oh, yeah, we'll take care of it." And months go by, and so I finally called the EPA. And you never saw a 20-foot pile of hazardous waste move so fast. The next day it was gone. It's a true story.
They probably sent them a letter that said it's gonna be this much per day, right? Yeah.
I don't know what they said, but they got rid of that pile in a hurry. I'll tell you. But I remember that. And,
There was, I think they had the catalytic converters out back there. They were thrown out back there when Raji owned the place. And they had a bunch of catalytic converters laying out in the ground back there. I just reminded them it's probably not environmentally the right thing to do.
Those have already been stolen, probably.
I don't cast any aspersions. But that's my environmental story.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, fingers crossed. It's a clean site.
Yeah.
I think you're up.
Okay, I'll make a motion if everybody is.
Yes,
I have a motion made. I move that the request of Patrick Hooton, Planning Board Case Number 24-12 for multifamily site plan approval be approved with the conditions that have been outlined by Town Planner Dave Sharples.
Second. He's jumping the gun on you there. All right.
Hand vote, those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Wish you the best.
it's one of my favorites.
Thanks for the
I like
slideshow.
this. I like everything, yeah.
I was excited just
Yeah.
for this.
And you did give us a big picture, a plan.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah.
Nice to
It's well thought out.
Take care, guys.
Is it really?
Good night.
Good night, thank you.
Early Sunday morning.
Oh, wow.
I don't get very many.
Okay, other business, master plan discussion.
None.
No
I think we
discussion.
decided to abandon it.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting in 3 months.
Yeah. Well,
this
you know
summer
what? That might be a discussion point because Pete was the third person and he hasn't been able to attend those meetings, so we really haven't
Thank you.
stopped having them.
Okay.
At some point, we need
Like
to
it.
Get another member.
figure out membership, maybe an interim person until Pete returns, or
Okay.
if anyone's willing to do it.
Don't all jump at once.
Who's not here?
Pete!
Pete's the only one.
We're back at eating.
There's no extras.
Okay.
Circled back.
That's fine. If you want to continue it as two, then we'll continue it as two, and we'll just start having meetings with two. I mean, we're not
Nothing pressing.
we're not making any votes. We're not,
Right.
we have no
had a meeting with-
authority over any funding. I mean, so-
Right.
We're just a bunch of goofballs.
Right? Working committee.
Land use regulations,
Store.
I know, get on so many things.
None at this point.
Okay.
There is some discussion at the Housing Advisory Committee from the Select Board on a couple of topics. They're looking for some input and recommendations on short-term rentals and RSA 79E. So there might be some recommendations that are made to the planning board to consider zoning amendments associated with those two topics. But I don't know yet, but we're discussing it, and when it comes appropriate time, I'll, if in fact it becomes a reality, I'll bring it to the board.
Okay.
field modifications.
Yeah, I think I've told you this before, but I tell you that, I mentioned it earlier, the glare up site on 19 Continental.
Yeah.
Got approved several years ago. Glare ups left.
Right.
They did not decide to build. They kept their site plan valid. They came in for extensions. And a cold storage facility purchased it.
Yep.
And they shrunk the building a little bit. And they pulled back, it's basically the same site plan, but all the same drainage, everything like that. But they pulled away from impact from a couple of places. They pulled some away, and because they made the building smaller, so it just went a little bit. Still has the road around it. Still just basically is the same layout. It just shrunk just a little bit. They just pulled it in, and they filed an intent to cut. We had a pre-con yesterday, and they're
Something's gonna.
they're out there like today. So they started today. So something is actually going to get built.
Is that still the frozen food?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Frozen food storage.
Don't
yeah.
hold your breath, everybody.
They're cutting.
What's that
They're
about the
at least
frozen?
starting.
Oh, no, it's full
Yeah.
on. They're going, you'll see it.
going, okay.
Well, you can't see it. It's at the end of the cul-de-sac, then you have to go down the driveway, and then, because there's an easement across the other property, but it was where Glarus was going.
Any more bond releases?
No. No bond releases.
John, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion now to,
Adjourn?
Adjourn? Yeah, we can
Oh,
adjourn, yeah.
Did you motion? I'll second.
Jen's gonna second.
Oh, Jen already got it. Okay.
I think that's good enough. We stand adjourned.
Thank you for
Thank you,
tuning in
everybody,
to
for your
Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.